Sri Bhakti rasamrta sindhu bindu, a drop of the nectarine ocean of Bhakti rasa, composed by the crest jewel of spiritual preceptors and guardian of the Sri Gaudiya Sampradaya Srila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura. Preface. Srila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura, the crown prince of illustrious teachers among the Gaudiya Vaisnava Acharyas, is the author of this book. In this book there is a description of the nature of Uttama Bhakti, its divisions, Sadhana Bhakti, the stages in the development of prema, the angas of bhajana, offences committed in the performance of devotional service, savaparadha, offences against the holy name, namaparadha, Vaidhi and Raganuga. Sadhana Bhakti, Bhavabhaku, Prema Bhakti, and Bhakti Rasa. Life history of Srila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura. Srila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura appeared in a family of Brahmanas from the community of Radhadiga in the district of Nadia, West Bengal. He was celebrated by the name Hari Vallabha. He had two older brothers named Ramabhadra and Raghunatha. In childhood, he studied grammar in a village named Devagrama. After this he went to a village named Syadabeta in the district of Murshidabad, where he studied the Bhakti Sastras in the home of his guru. It was in Syadabeta that he wrote 3 books while still undergoing his studies. These 3 books are Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu Bindu, Ajayavalanillamani Kirana, and Bhagavatamrita Kana. A short time later, he renounced his household life and went to Vrindavana. There he wrote many books and commentaries. After the disappearance of Sriman Mahaprabhu and his eternal associates who had taken up residence in Vraja, the current of Gaudiya Bhakti was flowing by the influence of 3 great personalities, Srinivasa Acharya, Narottama Thakura, and Syamananda Prabhu. Srila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura was 4th in the line of disciplic succession, coming from Srila Narottama Thakura. One disciple of Srila Narottama Thakura Mahagaya was named Sri Ganganarayana Cakravarti Mahagaya. He lived in Balakaragam Hila within the district of Murshidabad. He had no sons and only one daughter, whose name was Visnupriya. Srila Narottama Thakura had another disciple named Ramakrishna Bhattacharya from the Brahmana community of Virandra, a rural community of West Bengal. The youngest son of Ramakrishna Bhattacharya was named Krishnakarana. Sri Ganaganarayana accepted Krishnakarana as an adopted son. The disciple of Sri Krishnakarana was Radharamana Cakravarti, who was the spiritual master of Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura. In his commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam entitled Sararthadharani, at the beginning of the Rasapadakadhyaya, 5 chapters describing Sri Krishna's Rasalila, Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura has written the following verse. In this sloka the name Sri Rama refers to the spiritual master of Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura, Sri Radharamana. The word Krishna refers to his grand spiritual master, Paramagurudeva, Sri Krishnakarana. The name Gangakarana refers to his great grand spiritual master, Paradparagurudaya, Sri Gangakarana. The name Narottama refers to his great-great-grand spiritual master, Paramaparadparagurudeva, Srila Narottama Thakura, and the word Natha refers to the spiritual master of Srila Narottama Thakura, Sri Lokanatha Goswami. In this way, he is offering obeisances unto his Guru Parampara up to Sriman Mahaprabhu. The daughter of Srinivasa Acharya, Hemalata Thakurani, was extremely learned and a great Vaisnavi. She expelled an estranged disciple named Rupa Kavaraja from the Gaudiya Vaisnava community. Since then Rupa Kavaraja was known as Athabadi in the Gaudiya Vaisnava community. He established his own concocted doctrine, opposed to the Gaudiya Vaisnava conclusions, that only a person in the renounced order of life could act as Acharya. He claimed that it was not possible for a householder to become a spiritual master. Completely disregarding the path of devotional rules and regulations, Vidhimarga, he propagated the path of spontaneous attraction, Ragamarga, in an unrestrained and undisciplined manner. His opinion was that Raganug for Bhakti could be practiced by smarana, remembrance, alone, abandoning the practices of Sravana and Kirtana, hearing and chanting. Fortunately, Srila Cakravarti Thakura was present at that time. In his Sararthadarsini commentary on the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, he refuted these false conclusions. the householder disciples in the disciplic succession of Nityananda Prabhu's son, Virabhadra, and Thais, who are descendants of the rejected sons af Advaita Acharya award and accept the title of Gosvami. Such action is completely improper according to the line of Acharyas. Sri Cakravarti Thakura refuted this idea of Ripa Kavaraja. He proved that it was not incompatible for a qualified Grastha descendant of an Acharya to act as a spiritual master. But for unfit descendants of Acharya families who are greedy for disciples and wealth to adopt the name of Gosvami is unlawful and contrary to the statements of Sastra. This he also proved. Therefore, although acting as an Acharya, he never used the title Gosvami with his name. He did this just to instruct the foolish and unfit descendants of Acharya families of modern times. When Srila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura was very old, he spent most of the time in a semi-conscious state, deeply absorbed in bhajana. At that time in the state of Jaipur, a debate broke out between the Gaudiya Vaisnavas and other Vaisnavas who supported the doctrine of Svaikiya Veda, marital love. Jayasit II was the king of Jaipur. The Vaisnavas of the antagonistic camp lead Jaya Singh to believe that the worship of Srimati Radhika along with Sri Govinda Deva was not supported by Sastra. Their contention was that Srimati Radhika's name was not mentioned anywhere in Srimad Bhagavatam or the Vinu Purana and that she was never legally married to Krishna according to Vedic rituals. Another objection was that the Gaudiya Vaisnavas did not belong to a recognized line of disciplic succession or sampradaya. There are but 4 lines of Vaisnava disciplic succession which have descended from time immemorial, the Sri Sampradaya, Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, and Sanaka, Kumara, Sampradaya. In the age of Kali the principal Acharyas of these 4 Sampradayas are respectively, Sri Ramanuja, Sri Madhva, Sri Visnasvami, and Sri Nambaditya. The Gaudiya Vaisnavas were thought to be outside of these 4 Sampradayas and were not accepted as having a pure lineage. In particular the Gaudiya Vaisnavas did not have their own commentary on the Brahmastitra. Therefore, they could not be accepted as a bona fide line of Vaisnava disciplic succession. At that time Maharaja Jaya Singh, knowing the prominent Gaudiya Vaisnava Acharyas of Vrindavana to be followers of Srila Ripa Gosvami, summoned them to Jaipur to take up the challenge with the Vaisnavas from the line of Sri Ramanuja. Because he was very old and immersed in the transcendental bliss of bhajana, Sri Cakravarti Thakura sent his student, Gaudiya Vaisnava Vedantakarya Mahamahopadhyaya, the great one among great teachers, Pandita Kulamukita, the crown of the assembly of learned scholars, Sriputa Baladeva Vidyabhasana to Jaipur along with his disciple Sri Krishnadeva, in order to address the assembly. The caste Gosvamis had completely forgotten their connection with the Madhva Sampradaya. In addition to this they were disrespectful to the Vaisnava Vedanta and created a great disturbance for the Gaudiya Vaisnavas. Srila Baladeva Vidyabhasana, by his irrefutable logic and powerful sastric evidence, proved that the Gaudiya Sampradaya was a pure Vaisnava Sampradaya coming in the line of Madhva. The name of this Sampradaya is the Sri Brahma Madhva Gandhaya Vaisnava Sampradaya. Our previous Acharyas like Srila Jiva Gosvami, Kavi Karnaptra, and others accepted this fact. The Sri Gaudiya Vaisnavas accepts Srimad Bhagavatam as the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sitra. For this reason no separate commentary of Vedanta Sitra was written in the Gaudiya Vaisnava Sampradaya. In various Puranas the name of Srimati Radhika is mentioned. She is the personification of the Hladani, pleasure-giving, potency and the eternal beloved of Sri Krishna. In several places of the Srimad Bhagavatam and specifically in the 10th canto in connection with the description of Brajalila, Srimati Radhika is mentioned in a very concealed manner. Only Rasika and Bhavyuka Bhaktas who are conversant with the conclusions of Sastra can understand this confidential mystery. In the learned assembly in Jaipur, Baladeva Vidyabhasana refuted all the arguments and doubts of the opposing party. He solidly established that the Gaudiya Vaisnavas were following in the line of disciplic succession descending from Madhva, as well as the authenticity of the worship of Radha Govinda. The opposition was silenced by his presentation. Nonetheless, because the Gaudiya Vaisnava Sampradaya did not have a commentary on Vedantastra, the contesting party did not accept them as being a pure line of Vaisnava disciplic succession. Sri Baladeva Vidyabhasana then wrote the famous Gaudiya commentary on the Brahmasutra named Sri Govinda Bhasya. Once again the worship of Sri Radha Govinda began in the temple of Sri Govinda Deva, and the validity of the Sri Brahmamadhva Gaudiya Sampradaya was accepted. It was only on the authority of Sri Cakravarti Thakura that Sri Baladeva Vidyabhagana Prabhu was able to write the Sri Govinda Bhasya and prove the connection of the Gaudiya Vaisnavas with the Madhva Sampradaya. There should be no doubt in this regard. This accomplishment of Sri Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura done on behalf of the Sampradaya will be recorded in golden letters in the history of Gaudiya Vaisnavism. Still, Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura describes a very striking event in his own book entitled Mantrartha Dipika. Once while reading Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, he came upon the verse quoted below, Madhyalila 21.125, which describes the meaning of the Kamagayatri mantra. The Kamagayatri mantra is identical with Sri Krishna. In this king of mantras there are 24.5 syllables and each syllable is a full moon. This aggregate of moons has caused the moon of Sri Krishna to rise and fill the three worlds with prema. It is proved by the evidence of this verse that the Kamagayatri mantra is composed of 24.5 syllables. But in spite of considerable thought, Sri Visvanath Cakravarti could not ascertain which syllable in the Kamagayatri was considered a half syllable. Although he carefully scrutinized grammar books, the Puranas, the Tantra, the S4STRAS dealing with drama, natya, and rhetoric, alankara, and other scriptures, he found no mention anywhere of a half syllable. In all these sastras he found mention only of the vowels and consonants which make up the 50 letters of the alphabet. He found no evidence anywhere of a half syllable. In the Sri Harinamamrita Vyakarana, the grammar system composed by Sri Jiva Goswami, he found mention of only 50 letters in the section dealing with the names of the various groups of vowels and consonants, Sadajvyapada. By study of the arrangement of letters, Matrika, in the Uttarakanadsa and other books, he found no mention anywhere of a half syllable. In the Radhika Sahasranamastatra found in the Brahmaritya Purana, one of the names of Vrindavana's very Srimati Radhika is given as Pakesavarnarapani, one whose form is composed of 50 syllables. Seeing this, his doubt only increased. He began to consider whether Kavaraja Goswami might have made a mistake while writing. But there was no possibility of him committing any mistake. He was omniscient and thus completely devoid of the material defects of mistakes, illusion, and so on. If the fragmented letter V, the final letter of the Kamagayatri mantra, is taken as a half syllable, then Krishnadasa Kavaraja Goswami would be guilty of the fault of disorder, for he has given the following description in Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhyalila 21.126-128. In these lines, Sri Krishnadasa Kavaraja Goswami has described the face of Sri Krishna as the first full moon. His two cheeks are both considered as full moons. The dot of sandalwood on the upper portion of his forehead is considered as the fourth full moon, and the region of the forehead below the dot of sandalwood is the moon of Astami, or, in other words, a half moon. According to this description, the fifth syllable is a half syllable. LF, the fragmented, which is the final letter of the mantra, is taken as a half syllable, then the fifth syllable could not be a half syllable. Srila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura fell into a dilemma because he could not decipher the half syllable. He considered that if the syllables of the mantra would not reveal themselves, then neither would it be possible for the worshipful deity of the mantra to manifest to him. He decided that since he could not obtain audience of the worshipful deity of the mantra, it would be better to die. Thinking thus, he went to the bank of Radhakunda at night with the intent of giving up his body. After the second period, prahara, of the night had passed, he began to doze off when suddenly, Sri Vrisabhanunandini, Srimati Radhika, appeared to him. She very affectionately said, "O Visvanatha! O Hari Vallabha! Do not lament. Whatever Sri Krishnadasa Kavaraja has written is the absolute truth. By my grace, he knows all the inner sentiments of my heart. Do not maintain any doubt about his statements. The Kamagayatri is a mantra to worship me and my dear beloved, Pranavallabha. We are revealed to the devotee by the syllables of this mantra. No one is capable of knowing us without my grace. The half-syllable is described in the book known as Varnagamabhisvat. After consulting this book, Sri Krishnadasa Kavaraja determined the actual identity of the Kamagayatri. You should examine this book and then broadcast its meaning for the benefit of faithful persons. After hearing this instruction from Vribhanunandini Srimati Radhika herself, Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakura suddenly arose. Calling out, "O Radhi! O Radhi!" he began to cry in great lamentation. Thereafter, upon regaining his composure, he set himself to carrying out her order. According to the indication of Srimati Radhika regarding the determination of the half-syllable, the letter 6 which is preceded by the letter Ya in the mantra is considered as a half-syllable. Apart from this, all other syllables are full syllables or full moons. By the mercy of Srimati Radhika, Srila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura became acquainted with the meaning of the mantra. He obtained the direct audience of his worshipful deity, and by means of his internal perfected spiritual body, Siddhatiha, he was able to participate in the Lord's Nitya-lila as an eternal associate. After this, he established the deity of Sri Gokulananda on the bank of Radhakunda. While residing there, he experienced the sweetness of the eternal pastimes of Sri Vindavana. It was at this time that he wrote his Sukhavartini commentary on Ananda Yarndavanakampi, a book written by Srila Kavi Karnaptra. In old age, Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakura spent most of his time in a semi-conscious state, deeply absorbed in bhajana. His principal student, Baladeva Vidyabhasana, took over the responsibility of teaching the sastras. Re-establishment of the doctrine of Parakyavada because of a slight decline in influence of the 6 Gosvamis in Sri Vrindavanadhamma, a controversy arose regarding the doctrines of Svaikiyavada, marital love, and Parakyavada, paramour love. To dispel the misconceptions regarding Svaikiyavada, Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakura wrote 2 books named Raghavartmakandrika and Gopi Premamrita, which are wonderfully filled with all the conclusions of Sastra. Thereafter, in his Ananda Kandrika commentary on the Lagutvamatra * verse of Ajay Valanilamani, 121st, he soundly refuted the theory of Svaikiyavada by sastric evidence and irrefutable arguments and established the conception of Parakya. In his Sararthadarsini commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam, he gave strong support to the Parakya bhava. It is said that at the time of Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakura there were some panditas who opposed him in regard to the worship in the mood of Parakya. But by his deep scholarship and irrefutable logic he defeated them. On account of this, the panditas resolved to kill him. Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakura used to go out in the early morning before dawn to perform parikrama of Sri Vrindavanadhamma. They formulated a plan to kill him at that time in some dense, dark grove. The full verse from Ajay Yavalanilamani is as follows: whatever fault or impropriety has been pointed out, in other rasasastras, in regards to the love of paramours applies to ordinary worldly lovers and not to Sri Krishna, for he is the taster of the liquid essence of rasa and the source of all incarnations. In other words, the Lord's incarnations are the controllers of religion and irreligion and never subjected to their control. How then can Sri Krishna be subjected to such codes when he is the source of all incarnations? While performing parikram 4, Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakura came upon the grove where the adversaries desired to kill him. But suddenly they looked and saw that he was no longer there. In his place, they saw a beautiful young Brajavasi girl picking flowers along with 2 or 3 of her friends. The panditas inquired from the girl, "Dear child, just a moment ago a great devotee was approaching here. Where did he go? Did you happen to see him?" The girl replied, "I saw him, but I don't know where he went." Seeing the astonishing beauty of the girl, her sidelong glancing, her graceful feminine manner, and gentle smiling, the panditas became captivated. All the impurity in their minds was vanquished and their hearts became soft. On being requested by the panditas to introduce herself, the girl said, 1 am a maidservant of Svamini Srimati Radhika. She is presently at her mother-in-law's home at Yavata. She sent me to pick flowers. Saying this, she disappeared, and in her place, they saw Srila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura once again. The Panditas fell at his feet and prayed for forgiveness. He forgave them all. Many such astonishing events are heard in the life of Srt Cakravarti Thakura. In this way he refuted the theory of Svaikiyavada and established the truth of pure Parakya. This work of his is of great importance for the Gaudiya Vaisnavas. Srila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura not only protected the integrity of the Sri Gaudiya Vaisnava Dharma, but he also re-established its influence in Sri Vrindavana. Anyone who evaluates this accomplishment of his is sure to be struck with wonder by his uncommon genius. The Gaudiya Vaisnava Acharyas have composed the following verse in praise of his extraordinary work: because he indicates the path of Bhakti, he is known by the name Visvanatha, the Lord of the universe, and because he always remains in the assembly, Kakra, of pure devotees, he is known by the name Cakravarti, he around whom a circle or assembly turns. In the year 1676 Sakabda, on the 5th day of the light phase of the moon of the month of Magha, January-February, at approximately 100 years of age, while absorbed in an internal condition in Sri Radhakunda, he entered into Aprakata, unmanifest, Vindavana. Even today his samadhi can be found just next to the temple of Sri Gokulananda in Sri Dhamma Vrindavana. Following in the footsteps of Srila Rapa Goswami, he composed abundant transcendental literatures about bhakti and thus established the inner heart's longing of Sriman Mahaprabhu in this world. He also refuted various faulty conclusions, opposed to the genuine following of Sri Ripa Gosvamt, Rapanuga. He is thus revered in Gaudiya Vaisnava society as an illustrious Carya and as an authoritative Mahajana. He is renowned as a great transcendental philosopher, poet, and Rasika Bhakta. A Vaisnava composer of verse named Krishnadasa has written the following lines at the conclusion of his translation of Srila Cakravarti Thakura's book Madhurya Kadambini. Srila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura has benedicted the whole world by writing the book Madhurya Kadambini. In reality, Sri Krishna Caitanya Mahaprabhu is the speaker of this book. He has spoken it through the mouth of Sri Cakravarti. Some people say that Sri Cakravarti Thakura is an incarnation of Srila Ripa Goswami. He is very expert in the art of describing extremely complex truths in an easily understandable manner. O Ocean of Mercy, Sri Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura. 1 am a great fool. Kindly reveal the mystery of your transcendental qualities in my heart. This is my prayer at your lotus feet. Among Gaudiya Vaisnava Acharyas, there are very few who wrote as many books as Srila Cakravarti Thakura. Even today the following proverb is quite famous amongst the Vaisnavas regarding his 3 books, Hirana Bindu Kand, Fina Nai Vaisnava Pana. These 3 books, Ajay Valanilamani Kirana, Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu Bindu, and Bhagavatamrita Kand, are taken by the Vaisnavas as their wealth. A list is given below of his books, commentaries, and prayers which form a storehouse of incomparable wealth of Gaudiya Vaisnava Bhakti literature. 1. Vrajariti Sintamani, 2. Kamatkara Kandrika, 3. Prema Samputam, Kandakavyam, a poetic work which displays only partial characteristics or ornamentation of poetry. 4. Jitavala, 5. Subadhinai, commentary on Alankara Kaustubha, 6. Ananda Kandrika, commentary on Ajay Valanilamani, 7. Commentary on Sri Gopala Tapani, 8. Stavamritalahari, waves of nectarine prayers, included in which are the following: a. Sri Guru Tat Vastakam, b. Mantradatraguru Astakam, c. Paramaguru Astakam, d. Parad Paraguru Astakam, e. Parama Parad Paraguru Astakam, f. Sri Lokanatha Stakam, g. Sri Sasanandan Astakam, h. Sri Svartpakaratamritam, I. Sri Svapnavilazamritam, j. Sri Gopala Devastakam, k. Sri Matanamoanastakam, 1. Sri Govindastakam, m. Sri Gopinathastakam, n. Sri Gokulanandastakam, 0, Svarabhagavadastakam, p. Sri Radhakundastakam, q. Jagan Mohanastakam, r. Anuragavali, s. Sri Vindadavayastakam, t. Srt Radhikadhayanamritam, u. Sti Ripasintamana, v. Sri Nandigvarastakam, w. Sri Vrindavanastakam, x. Sri Govardhanastakam, y. Sri Sankalpakalpadruma, z. Sri Nakutijavaradavali, Virutkavaya laudatory poetry, a. Suradakathamritam, bb. Sri Syamakundastakam, 9. Sri Krishnabhavanamritam, 10. Sri Bhagavatamritakana, 11. Sri Ajayjavalanilam Anikirana, 12. Sri Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu Bindu, 13. Raghavartmakandrika, 14. Aikvarya Kadambini, unavailable, 15. Sri Madhurya Kadambini, 16. Commentary on Sri Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, 17. Commentary on Danakeli Kaumudi, 18. Commentary on Sri Lalita Madhavanataka, 19. Commentary on Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, incomplete, 20. Commentary on Brahmasarbhita, 21. Sararthavarsani Commentary on Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and 22. Sararthadarjini Commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. My most revered Sri Gurudeva, Astadarasada Sri Srimad Bhakti Prajityana Kagava Gosvami Maharaja was a guardian of the Sri Gaudiya Sampradaya and founder Acharya of the Sri Gaudiya Vedanta Samutaya as well as the Gaudiya Mathas established under its auspices. Aside from publishing his own hooks, he republished the hooks of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura and other previous 4 karyas in the Bengali language. Today, by his heartfelt desire, enthusiastic blessings, and causeless mercy, Jaiva Dharma, Sri Caitanya Siksamrita, Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhura Siksa, Sri Siksa Stakha and other books have been printed in Hindi, the national language of India. Gradually other books are being published. The present-day head and Acharya of the Sri Gaudiya Vedanta Samutaya, my most revered god-brother, Parivrajakarya Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Vamana Maharaja is deeply immersed in transcendental knowledge and is a very dear, intimate servant of the lotus feet of our Sri Guru. Humbly pray at his lotus feet that he may bless me by presenting this precious book, Sri Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu Bindu, into the lotus hands of our Srila Gurudeva and thus fulfill his inner heart's longing. I have complete faith that those who are possessed of yearning for bhakti and especially the sadhakas of Raganuga Bhakti who are captivated by Vrajarasa will receive this book with great reverence. Faithful persons who study this book will obtain qualification to enter into the wealth of Prema of Sti Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Finally, one pray at the lotus feet of my most revered Srila Gurudeva, the condensed personification of the Lord's compassion, that he may pour down a shower of abundant mercy upon me, by which may first obtain more and more eligibility to engage in the service of his inner heart's longing. This is our humble prayer at his lotus feet which bestow Krishna Prema. Aksaya Tritlaya, 3rd day of the bright half of Vaisakha, 510 years after the appearance of Lord Gauranga, Gaurabda, 1918 by the Indian calendar, 20th April, 1996. An aspirant for a particle of mercy of Sri Hari, Guru, and Vaisnavas, humble and insignificant, Tridandi Bhiksu Sri Bhaktivedanta Narayana Introduction. This book has been made possible only by the guidance, inspiration, and causeless mercy of my beloved Siksa Guru, Orn Vinupada Paramaharsa Parivrajakarya Astadarayata Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaja. Although I am thoroughly unfit for the grave task of translating the books of our Gaudiya Vaisnava Acharyas into English, I have taken it up by his will. He has a strong desire to distribute the invigorating fruit of Vraja Bhakti which has been preserved for all Gaudiya Vaisnavas in the books of Srila Ripa Gosvami, Sri Raghunatha Dasa Gosvami, Srila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura and other Rapanuga Acharyas. It is only by his direction that we have now presented in English books like Sri Siksa Stakha, Venujita, Manasiksa, and this book Sri Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu Bindu. I pray at his lotus feet that he may be pleased with this humble offering. Sri Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu Bindu, a drop from the nectarine ocean of Bhakti Rasa, is a brief summary of the essential topics from Sri Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu. It consists of 27 slokas, some of which were taken from Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu and some which were written by Shrila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura in Sanskrit. Srila Gurudeva has given an illuminating translation of these slokas into Hindi. His translation and commentary is named Sri Bindu Vakasintvarti, or the commentary which reveals the meaning of Sri Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu Bindu. In this commentary he has expanded the subject matter by including Srila Cakravartipada's purports to the verses taken from Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu. He has drawn additional material from Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu and relevant verses from Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Sri Hari Bhakti Vilasa, Sri Bhakti Sandarbha, and other gastras. He has also made very significant comments to facilitate comprehension of the subject matter. These comments are distinct from his Vakasinivarti and are identified in this book simply as comment. This book is a translation of Srila Gurudeva's Hindi edition. The subject matter has been enlarged still further by adding many portions from Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu. The entire book has been arranged to fit the pattern of Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, enabling the reader to see how the 27 verses of Srila Cakravartipada's book relate to its source book. Thus the genius of Srila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura is revealed. He very succinctly summarized every wave of the 4 divisions of the original book. The 27 slokas are easily identified in this book both from the table of contents and from the title pages which appear at the beginning of each of the 4 divisions of the book. The expansion and design of this book was done very carefully under the supervision of Srila Gurudeva. He gave his time freely to explain many subtle intricacies of the book and always encouraged me to penetrate deeply into the subject. I am eternally indebted to him for this, and one pray that this book reflects the mood that he himself embodies. 1 am confident that the fruit of this work will be appreciated by devotees who are eager to taste a drop from the ocean of Bhakti Rasa. Low an incalculable debt to my dear friend and spiritual guide Sritman Satyanarayana Dasa for all the help that he has given me in understanding Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu. 4 years of preparation by thoroughly studying 3 different editions of Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu have gone into the presentation of this book. During that time, I met with him almost on a weekly basis to raise questions I had on many points of the book. Whatever understanding I now have is largely due to his mercy. Offer my Dandavat Pranama at his feet and pray that he will continue to be kind to me. Lam grateful to Sri Tirthapada Dasa Adhikari for his exceptional editing work. He offered many valuable suggestions and raised penetrating questions that enabled me to go more deeply into the topics and explain things with greater clarity. I am grateful to Sri Premavilasa Dasa Adhikar for his constant encouragement, for providing the layout and design, and for overseeing all other aspects of the book. I would also like to thank Sripuda B.V. Tripurari Swami for his generous contribution toward the printing cost of this book. I pray that the mercy of Sri Guru Gauranga and Gandharvika Giridhari be upon them all. Lastly, I offer repeated Dandavat Pranama at the feet of Sriman Premananda Dasa Brahmakari and Sriman Navinakrishna Dasa Brahmakari. They are 2 dear friends who are confidential servants of Srila Gurudeva. Always keep them close at heart, and it is by their mercy that I am able to offer any service to his lotus feet. Pray that they be merciful upon me and offer this book into the lotus hands of Sri Srila Gurudeva. An aspirant for the service of the lotus feet of Sri Guru and Vaisnavas. Navad Vipadasa waves of Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, the ocean of the nectar of Bhakti Rasa Parva Vibhaga, Eastern Division, Bhagavad Bhakti Bedanurdpeka, Divisions of Bhagavad Bhakti, First wave Samanya Bhakti, General characteristics of Bhakti, Second wave Sadhana Bhakti, Bhakti in the stage of cultivation, Third wave Bhava Bhakti, Bhakti in the budding stage of ecstatic love, Fourth wave Prema Bhakti, Bhakti in the mature stage of ecstatic love, Dakshina Vibhaga, Southern Division, Samanaya. Bhagavad Bhakti Asanarapaka, General characteristics of Bhagavad Bhakti Rasa, First wave Vibhava, the causes of tasting Bhakti Rasa, Second wave Anubhava, external symptoms of ecstasy, Third wave Sattvika Bhava, symptoms of ecstasy arising from sattva, fourth wave Vyabhikaribhava, internal transitory emotions, fifth wave Stayabhava, permanent or dominant emotions, Pasimavibhaga, Western Division, Mukhya Bhaktirasa Nirupaka, primary divisions of Bhaktirasa, first wave Santa Bhaktirasa. Tranquility, second wave Prita Bhaktirasa, servitude, third wave Priya Bhaktirasa, friendship, fourth wave Vatsalya Bhaktirasa, parental affection, fifth wave Madhura Bhaktirasa, conjugal love, Uttara Vibhaga, northern division, Gana Bhaktirasa Nirupaka, secondary divisions of Bhaktirasa, first wave Hajya Bhaktirasa, laughter, second wave Adbhuta Bhaktirasa, astonishment, third wave Vira Bhaktirasa, heroism, fourth wave Karuna Bhaktirasa, compassion, fifth wave Raudra Bhaktirasa, anger, sixth wave Bhayanika Bhaktirasa, fear, seventh wave Vyabhatsa Bhaktirasa, disgust, eighth wave Rasanati Matri Varastiti, compatible and incompatible rasas, ninth wave Rasabhasa, semblance of rasa. Parva Vibhaga, Eastern Division, Bhagavad Bhakti Bedanurdapaka divisions of Bhagavad Bhakti, first wave Samanya Bhakti, general characteristics of Bhakti Sloka 1, second wave Sadhana Bhakti, Bhakti in the stage of cultivation, Slokas 2 to 11, third wave Bhava Bhakti, Bhakti in the budding stage of ecstatic love, Sloka 12, fourth wave Prema Bhakti, Bhakti in the mature stage of ecstatic love, Sloka 13, Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Jayata, first wave Samanya Bhakti, general characteristics of Bhakti Mangalakaranam. The supreme benefactor of all devotees, Sri Sri Ripa Goswami, composed the above aloka as the Mangalakarana or invocation verse to his unprecedented book named Sri Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, which manifested from the treasury of the divine lotus of his heart. This sacred book named Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu Bindu, written by Sri Shrila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura, is also begun with the same Mangalakarana sloka composed by Srila Rapa Goswami. The meaning of this verse is as follows: let there be all glory to the omnipotent Lord Sri Krishna Chandra, who is endowed with all excellence and who is the personification of transcendental bliss, characterized by the 12 forms of rasa tip primary Nukya rasa Enta, Dajya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhura, and 7 secondary, Gana rasa laughter, wonder, compassion, anger, fear, heroism, and disgust. By the radiance of his limbs, which is spreading in all directions, he has brought under his control the Atithvaras or leaders of the various groups of gopis, named Tarika, Vipaks representing a rival group to that of Sri Radha, and Pali, Tatastha representing a neutral group. He has made Syamala, Sardapaksa representing a friendly group, and Lalita, Svapaksa belonging to Radhika's own group, his very own, and he is the most beloved of Srimati Radhika, Radhapriyan. That is, being under the control of the Prema of Srimati Radhika, who is the embodiment of the Mahabhava of all the Athesvaras, he is always intently absorbed in inspiring her love. 1. Uttama Bhakti, the cultivation of activities which are meant exclusively for the pleasure of Sri Krishna, or in other words the uninterrupted flow of service to Sri Krishna, performed through all endeavors of the body, mind, and speech, and through the expression of various spiritual sentiments, bhavas, which is not covered by jnana, knowledge aimed at impersonal liberation, and karma, reward-seeking activity, and which is devoid of all desires other than the aspiration to bring happiness to Sri Krishna, is called Uttama Bhakti, pure devotional service. BRS 1.111, Sri Cakravartipada Sanskrit Commentary, Sri Bindu Vikasanivarti, illumination of the meaning of Sri Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu Bindu Statarasada Sri Srimad Bhakti Prajvayana Kesava Gosvami, Sti Ripa Gosvami, who is the eternal associate of Lord Gauranga, all the spiritual masters who are following in the line of Sri Ripa Gosvami, and Sri Sri Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari, Sri Sri Radha Vinata Bihari. Praying for their causeless mercy and blessings, this insignificant and lowly person is beginning the translation and commentary named Sri Bindu Vikasanivarti of this sacred book Sri Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu Bindu, written by the supreme teacher among the followers of Sri Rapa Gosvami, Rapanugas, Sri Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura. Symptoms of Uttama Bhakti. We are beginning hereafter by enumerating the symptoms of Uttam for Bhakti, The symptoms of Uddham for Bhakti, as described in the above verse, are of two kinds: 1. Svartpalaksana, intrinsic characteristics, and 2. Tatastha extrinsic characteristics. The Svartpalaksana is described in the second line of the verse Anutliena Krishnana Silinar Bhaktir Uttama. Uttama Bhakti involves the cultivation of activities favorable to Sri Krishna. This is said to be the Svarapalaksana of Uttama Bhakti because it acquaints us with the inherent nature or Svarapa of Bhakti. The Tatastha Laksana is described in the first line of the verse Anyabhilasiddhasinyarji Anakarmati Anavritam. Uttama Bhakti is devoid of all desires other than to please Sri Krishna, and it is not covered by Jnana and karma. This is called the Tatastha Laksana because it defines those characteristics which are not part of the nature of Bhakti. Svarapalaksana intrinsic characteristics Anasilanam see constant cultivation. Here the Svarapalaksana of Uttama Bhakti will be described beginning with Krishnanasilanam. Just as all the various meanings of the verbal roots, didas, or in other words the constituent parts of words, can be understood by the ideas they express when applied as verbs, kriya, all the meanings of this verbal root silana, constant study or practice, may be known by the word anasilana, that is constant practice or cultivation. There are two meanings of any verbal root or dhatu: sestaripa, in every verbal root some activity is implied, and bhavaripa, inherent in every action, or accompanying every action, there is some particular sentiment. The meaning of sestarupa is also of two kinds: 1. Sadhana-rapa endeavors in the stage of sadhana leading to the manifestation of bhava, comprising both Vedi and Rag for Nuga sadhana, and 2. Karyarapa endeavors which manifest as effects upon attainment of the stage of bhava, or in other words the anubhavas of bhava bhakti. Included within this category are the 8 sattvika bhavas, such as crying and standing of the hairs on end, and the anubhavas such as singing and dancing. All these effects, anubhavas, are expressions arising from the mind which is constituted of visuddha-sattva. Sadhana-ripa is further divided into two parts: pravritisnaleka, or that which is based on performance of positive action, and nivrittimaleka, or that which is based on avoidance of negative action. The aspect of the verbal root which deals with the performance of positive action refers to favorable endeavors undertaken with the body, kayaka, mind, manasika, and speech, vasika. The aspect of the verbal root which involves the avoidance of negative action is different in meaning from that which arises from engagement in positive activity. In other words, nivrittiyatmaka sestamipa involves the avoidance of all activities, also performed with body, mind, and speech, which give rise to offences in service, savaparadha, offences to the holy name, na form aparada, and offences to the holy places, dhammaparadha. The meaning of bhavaripa is also of two kinds: priti or love, and visata, despondency. Priti refers to the manifestation of the stayabhava, and visata refers to the sadhikari bhavas. Shrila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura has explained this same thing in his commentary to Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, 1.3.1. There he says that bhavaripa may be divided into two aspects: 1. Sthayi bhava aripa, the permanent sentiment in one of the 5 primary relationships of Santa, Dajya, Sakya, Vatsalya, or Madhura, and 2. Sadhikari bhavarapa, the internal transitory emotions which arise like waves from the ocean of the stayabhava, enhance it and then submerge once again into the state bhava. There are 33 sadhikari bhavas, such as nirvida, self-disparagement, visata, despondency, and danya, depression. Stayabhavarpya is again divided into two forms: 1. Pramikararipa, the sprout of prema, that is, rati or bhava, and 2. Premarupa prema, which is developed through the stages of sneha, mana, pranaya, raga, anuraga, bhava, and mahabhava. All these states, bhava and so on, are completely beyond mundane worldly sentiments. They are transcendental and fully situated in unalloyed goodness, visuddha-sattva. These will be described later. Comment of the 64 angas of Bhakti which are described in Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, the first 10 beginning from Sri Gurupadasraya, taking shelter of the lotus feet of a spiritual master, involve the cultivation of bhakti through endeavors, Sestarapa arising from positive activity, pravarti amilaka. These 10 atigas are the beginning forms of bhajana. After this, the next 10 agas describe activities which are to be given up. These include renunciation of the association of non-devotees, avice navasadagataiga, avoidance of seva and nam for paradha, and so on. To refrain from such activities is what is meant by the cultivation of bhakti through endeavors, sestarayapa, arising from avoidance of negative activity, nivritti malaka. One should act in such a way as to exclude these negative items. The meaning of the word anasalana has thus been defined in terms of endeavors or sestaripa of two kinds, pravartyatmaka and nivrittyanika, and in terms of sentiments which arise in connection with such endeavors, bhavarapa. When such cultivation or anasalana is in relationship with Sri Krishna or when it is performed for his pleasure, it is called bhakti. The word Krishnanasilana implies two kinds of endeavors or sesta, all varieties of anujalana which are related to Sri Krishna and all varieties of anuetlana which are performed directly for Sri Krishna. This refers to the aragas of bhaktis such as Sri Guru Padasraya, accepting Dikshaj initiation, and Siksha, spiritual instructions, from Sri Gurudeva, Visramha Bhaviguru Seva, serving the Guru with a feeling of great intimacy, and so on. In all these angas of bhakti there is no possibility that the fault of avyapti or underextension of a definition could occur. In other words, there is no possibility that these angas of bhakti could fail to be included within the definition of Krishnanasilana. Similarly, the stayabhava, including ratai, prema, sneha, and so on, and the vyabhikari bhavas, which both come under the heading of bhavarupa, are included within the word Krishnanaskilana. Consequently, there is no possibility of the fault of AVY4PTI occurring in their case either. Thus anasalana which is undertaken for Krishna both as sest for ripa, endeavors, and as bhavarapa, both stayabhava and vyabhikari bhavarayapa, is possible only by the mercy of Sri Krishna and the devotees of Krishna. Sri Gurudeva is a Paramabhagavad Bhakta. Therefore, the atigas of bhakti known as Sri Gurupadasraya and so on are also within Krishnanasilana. The stayabhava and other sentiments associated with it, or in other words anubhava, satvikabhava, and vyabhikaribhava are related to Sri Krishna as well. Therefore, they are also within Krishnanasilana. Krishnanajalana or bhakti is a special function, vritti, of the svarapasakti or internal energy of Sri Krishna. The body, mind, and senses of the badajivas or conditioned souls are all unconscious. The function of svarapasakti cannot manifest in the unconscious or inanimate body, mind, and speech of the badajivas. But due to the causeless mercy of the ocean of mercy, Sri Krishna, or the Paramabhagavad Bhaktas, the function of svartapasakti obtains identification with Tadatma and manifests in the body, mind, and words of the devotees, even though they are material, who have taken shelter of the lotus feet of Srt Gurudeva. This subject will be described more clearly ahead. The meaning of the word Tadatma can be understood from the following example. When fire permeates an iron rod, it burns other objects. The iron rod does not burn other objects. In this example, the fire is said to have obtained oneness with the iron rod, Tadatma. Similarly, by the mercy of the Lord, the bhaktivrti of svarapasakti obtains tadatma with the body, mind, and words of the devotees and then acts through them. Krishna. In the verse under discussion, the word Krishna has been used to indicate Svayambhagavan Vrayendranandana Sri Krishna and all other avatars of Sri Krishna. However, there is a gradation in the cultivation of bhakti in accordance with its object, either Svayamavatari Krishna, the original source of all incarnations, or other avataras. This gradation in the anasalana of bhakti will be described later. Anukalyana, the svartapalaksana of bhakti, has been defined as the cultivation of activities in relationship to Sri Krishna, Krishnanasilana. Now, in order to further qualify this definition, the word anukalyana will be explained. In order to establish the svarapa or inherent nature of bhakti, the qualifying adjective anukalyana, favorably disposed, has been used, because bhakti is not accomplished by unfavorable behavior. Certain liberal-minded philosophers have defined the meaning of the word anukulya as behavior or engagement which is pleasing. In other words, they say that bhakti or the cultivation of activities in relationship to Sri Krishna should be pleasing to him. Such engagement which is pleasing to Sri Krishna is termed as anukulya visista bhakti, or devotion which is favorable to the pleasure of Krishna. But by accepting this kind of meaning, the faults of ativyapti, overextension of atuli, and avyapti, underextension of arul, may become present in the symptoms of bhakti. Ativyapti means that when a definition is too wide it encompasses things which are not to be included within the description. Avyapti means that when a definition is too narrow it excludes things which should be included within the description. Just as when the Asuras Kantra, Mustika, and others struck the limbs of Sri Krishna in the wrestling match, it gave great happiness to him. He began to taste the virarasa, heroism, with great enthusiasm in the company of Kantra, Mastika, and others. In this example, the Asura's activity of striking the Lord appears to be pleasing to Krishna. A doubt arises here as to how the activity of the Asuras can be pleasing to Krishna. In response to this doubt, a portion of the verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, January 13, 30, is cited here. Manasvindam eva san samprahara, although in the vision of ordinary persons, a fierce battle with an enemy is the cause of great distress, for great heroes it is very pleasing. If the activity of the Asuras of violently striking the Lord in the wrestling match, due to its being pleasing to Krishna, is accepted as bhakti, then the fault of ativyapti or overextension enters into the definition of bhakti. In other words, the activity of the Asuras of maliciously striking the Lord is completely opposed to bhakti, but because it is pleasing to Krishna, it appears to be included within the characteristics of bhakti. Another example is when Yadamya seated Sri Krishna in her lap, and began to breastfeed him. At that time, the milk on the stove boiled over and was falling into the fire. Yasodamya left Krishna unsatisfied and went to rescue the milk. This was not pleasing to Krishna. His tiny lips began to tremble with anger. Sarajatako pasphurataranadharam iti, Srimad Bhagavatam 10.9.6. In this example, because the activity of Mother Yagoda was displeasing to Sri Krishna, it would seem to be excluded from the definition of bhakti. Therefore, here the fault of avyapti or underextension appears to be present in the definition of bhakti. The faults of ativyapti and avyapti, respectively, seem to appear in the cited examples of the activities of the Asuras and those of Yasodamya. The word anukulya has been used here with the intention of prohibiting these kinds of faults. The real meaning of anukulya is to be completely free of any attitude that is unfavorable or hostile to the Lord. Without the complete absence of any attitude that is unfavorable to the Lord, bhakti is not established. According to this principle, the fault of ativyapti cannot be applied to the Asuras. In other words, the definition of bhakti does not extend to them, because they are always possessed of a malicious attitude toward the Lord. Consequently, because they are not devoid of a hostile attitude, their activities are not counted as bhakti. Here the meaning of anukulya is to be devoid of any attitude unfavorable to the Lord. On the other hand, the activity of Yasodamya, from the external point of view, appeared to be unfavorable because it was seen to be displeasing to Krishna. But Yasodamya has no trace of any attitude that is displeasing to Krishna. She is always permeated with an attitude that is completely agreeable toward Krishna, being constantly attentive to rearing him and looking after his welfare. Therefore, this symptom has no contact with the fault of avyaptija. In other words, the definition of bhakti does not exclude this example. The devotees naturally display even greater love toward those things which are favorable toward the service of Krishna than toward Krishna directly. Krishna was to be nourished with the milk that was boiling on the stove. It was only with the idea of Krishna's future benefit that Yasodamya left him aside to tend to the milk. Therefore, this action is also bhakti. Someone may raise the contention that if a favorable attitude, a fornuklaya, or in other words, the absence of any inimical attitude, pratiklaya, is defined as bhakti, and if bhakti involves some kind of activity that is favorable or pleasing to Krishna, then what need is there to further qualify bhakti by use of the word anasalana, attentive study or practice? Why has this word been used if it is without meaning? It is with the purpose of responding to just such a doubt that the word anasalana has been employed. The true nature of bhakti is not established by the mere absence of an inimical attitude, for even within a clay pot there is an absence of animosity. Can the pot then be said to possess bhakti? It never can. It is true that there is no animosity in the pot, however, because there is no activity of the kind implied by the word anasalana, the existence of bhakti cannot be admitted. Therefore, the use of the word anasalana is not without meaning. Tatastha extrinsic characteristics. Having thus described the svarapalaksana of bhakti, the tatastha or extrinsic characteristics are described in order to establish the exclusivity of uttama bhakti. The tatastha is pointed out in the beginning of this verse by use of two qualifying terms, 1. Anyabhilazitazanyam, and 2. Jnanakarmadyanavritam. How should the cultivation of activities favorable to Krishna be undertaken? One should act only in such a way that bhakti may be augmented, giving up laukikabhilasa, worldly desires, paralaukikabhilasa, other worldly pursuits such as elevation to the heavenly planets and acquisition of mystic perfections in yoga, and any other kind of aspiration. This same idea has been expressed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhaktiya Satijata Bhaktiya, SB November 3, 31, Bhakti is produced only by bhakti. According to this statement, bhakti, ravana, kirtana, and other forms of sadhana, is to be done only for the sake of bhakti. The meaning of this is that sadhana and bhava bhakti should be done only with the objective of attaining prema bhakti. Therefore, to be devoid of all desires other than bhakti is uttama bhakti. It is especially noteworthy here to consider why it is that the term anyabhilazitasunyam has been used rather than anyabhilazastanyam. A very deep and confidential idea of Srila Rapa Gosvamipada has been concealed in this statement. Srila Ripa Gosvami has used the term anyabhilazitasunyar after giving a great deal of consideration to this matter. The term anyabhilasa means a desire for other objects. To this word the suffix in has first been added. This suffix indicates the natural or acquired way of living or acting. When used in conjunction with the word anyabhilasa, it means the innate tendency to act under extraneous desires. To this the suffix ta is added, which indicates the quality or state of being of anything. This means that in his natural condition, a sadhaka should have no desires other than for bhakti. But if on the appearance of some unexpected calamity, in an unnatural condition, a sadhaka prays, O Bhagavan, 1 am your devotee, please protect me from this calamity, then in spite of this desire, no damage is done to his bhakti. It is only due to some calamity that there is a reversal of his natural condition. Therefore he becomes compelled by circumstances to pray in an unnatural way. It should be understood that this desire is not his innate condition. Jnanakarmadyanadvardham, the second extrinsic characteristic or tatastha is now being explained. The term jnanakarmadyanavadam means that the cultivation of bhakti should be free from the covering of jnana, karma, and so forth. There are three divisions of jnana: 1. Tatpadarthajnana, 2. Tvarpadarthajnana, and 3. Jivabrahma Aikya. Tatpadarthajnana, knowledge of the constitutional identity of Bhagavan Sri Krishna, is the absolute truth, Paramatatva. He is the non-dual Parabrahma. He is the origin of all, yet he is without origin. He is the cause of all causes. He is the supreme repository of all the qualities of Aikvarya, majesty, and madhurya, sweetness. He is completely bereft of inferior material qualities, prakritaguna. He is replete with all transcendental qualities, aprakritaguna. He is saksi idyanandamaya vigraha, the embodiment of existence, cognizance, and bliss. He is asantya sarvasaktimana, the inconceivable possessor of all potencies. He is the very identity of both rasa and rasika. In other words, he is the abode of all rasa, and he himself is fully adept in enjoying such rasa in the company of his devotees. He is Svayambhagavan, the ultimate object to be ascertained by all the Vedas and all Sastras. He alone is the person to be designated by the term Svayambhagavan. This kind of knowledge is called Tat-padarthajnana. Tivath-padarthajnana, knowledge of the constitutional identity of the jiva and his relationship with Bhagavan. The jivas, as atomic particles of living spirit, cit paramanus vapra, are but infinitesimal rays of the Supreme Existential Spirit, Srt Krishna. Although non-different from Lord Hari, they are eternally distinct from him. The jivas are infinitesimal consciousness, Anu-Caitanya, whereas the Lord is the all-pervading consciousness, Vibhu-Caitanya. The jivas are subjugated by Maya, while the Lord is the controller of Maya. Even in the liberated condition, the jiva, in accordance with his nature as the marginal potency, Tatastha Sakti, is capable of falling under the sway of material nature, Maya Prakriti. The jiva represented both as knowledge, Jnanasvarapa, and as the knower, Jyotisvarapa. Although the potentiality for action or kartritva is present in him, he nonetheless remains atomic spirit, Anusit. He has minute independence, therefore, he is by nature the eternal servant of the Supreme Absolute Truth, Sri Krishna. He also possesses eternal separate existence. In other words, he is both independent and dependent. On account of being a product of the Tatastha Gakti of Sri Krishna, the jiva's relationship with Sri Krishna is one of inconceivable, simultaneous oneness and difference, asantyabheda. Apart from this, because he is a portion of the Lord and because the tendency to serve the Lord is inherent in his nature, the jiva's relationship with Sri Krishna is that of the eternal servant and the served. This type of knowledge is called Tivari Padarthajnana. Jiva Brahma Aikyajnana, knowledge of the oneness of the jiva and Brahma. There is no difference between the jiva and Brahma. When ignorance is dissipated, the jiva becomes identical with the Siripa of Brahma. At that time, the jiva has no separate existence. This kind of knowledge is called Jiva Brahma Aikyajnana. The word Jnana, which is used in the verse under discussion, refers only to this knowledge of the oneness of the jivas and Brahma. This knowledge is called Nirvaisajnana, knowledge of non-distinction or impersonalism. Nirvaisajnana is opposed to Bhakti. But the other two forms of knowledge mentioned before, Tat-padarthajnana and Tivarpadarthajnana, are not opposed to Bhakti. When one adopts the path of Bhakti, these two types of knowledge are essential. But upon entering the path of Bhakti, devotion mixed with empiric speculative knowledge, Jnana Bhakti, is labeled as external, Bahaya. This type of knowledge must also be given up. There is no possibility that the jiva's natural relationship with the Supreme Lord as servant and served could ever arise in Jiva Brahma Aikyajnana. This attitude of servant and served, Savayasavakabhava, is the very life of Bhakti. Therefore, to remain fully purified of any taint of Nirvaisa Brahmajnana is the Ganalaksana or secondary characteristic of Uttamabhakti. Three types of Bhakti. One should also remember that Bhakti is of three types: Svatipasiddha, those endeavors which are purely constituted of Uttama Bhakti; Sangasiddha, those endeavors which are associated with or favorable to the development of Bhakti but not of themselves purely composed of Bhakti; and Arupasiddha, those activities which, although not consisting of pure Bhakti, are designated as Bhakti due to their being offered to the Supreme Lord. Arupasiddha Bhakti endeavors indirectly attributed with the quality of Bhakti endeavors which by nature are not purely constituted of Bhakti, that is, Anukalyakras and in which the performer, in order to fulfill his own purpose, offers his activities and their results to the Lord so that he may be pleased, is called Arupasiddha Bhakti. In other words, because his activities are assigned, Arupa, to the Supreme Lord, Bhakti is attributed, Arupita, to them. Comment that Bhakti in which there is a mixture of karma or desires for material enjoyment is called Sakama Bhakti or Saguna Bhakti. Without the assistance of Bhakti, karma cannot yield any fruit. Knowing this, many persons offer their prescribed duties for the satisfaction of the Lord, in order that he might fulfill their extraneous desires. The activities of such persons are not Svara Bhakti. Nonetheless, because they offer the fruit of their activity to the Lord, it is considered as a type of Bhakti. Although their activities are offered for the satisfaction of the Lord, Their motivation is that by pleasing him, he may fulfill their extraneous desires. In this case their activities are attributed with the sense of bhakti. Therefore, such endeavors are known as arupasiddha bhakti. Sangha-siddha bhakti endeavors associated with or favorable to the cultivation of bhakti. There are other endeavors which, although not purely constituted of bhakti, anukulyakrisnanasilana, acquire a likeness to bhakti due to their being established as assistants to bhakti. Such endeavors are known as sadhaka-siddha bhakti. An example of this is found in Srimad Bhagavatam, 11.3.23-25, in the statement of Sri Prabuddha Muni to Maharaja Nimai. One should cultivate compassion toward others, friendliness, offering respect to others, cleanliness, austerity, tolerance, silence, study of the Vedas, simplicity, celibacy, nonviolence, and so on. One should consider heat and cold, happiness and distress to be the same. One should perceive the presence of the Lord everywhere. One should live in a secluded place, renounce family attachments and remain satisfied with gain which comes of its own accord. Even though the behavior or practices of Bhagavata-dharma described in this verse are not by nature purely constituted of bhakti, they are assistants to bhakti. Thus they are considered to be like associates or parikaras of bhakti. If Bhagavad Bhakti is removed from the 26 qualities mentioned, then Bhagavan has no direct relationship with the remaining qualities such as compassion, friendliness, tolerance, austerity, and so on. Only when these items exist as assistants to or associates of bhakti is their likeness to bhakti affected. Therefore they are known as Sangha-siddha bhakti. Svarupa-siddha bhakti endeavors purely constituted of uttama bhakti, all favorable endeavors or cestas such as sravana, kirtana, smarana, and so on, as well as the manifestation of the spiritual sentiments which occur beginning from the stage of bhava, which are completely devoid of all desires separate from Sri Krishna and which are freed from the coverings of jnana and karma, are known as svarupa-siddha bhakti. In other words, all endeavors of the body, words, and mind which are related to Sri Krishna and which are performed exclusively and directly for his pleasure without any intervention are known as svarupa-siddha bhakti. Therefore in Raya Ramananda Samveda, the conversation between Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and Raya Ramananda, found in Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, both arupasiddha and Sangha-siddha bhakti *a prakrita sahajiya is one who abandons the fundamental procedures of sadhana and imitates the symptoms of advanced devotees by a material display. Part is missing, from page 19 to 42 in printed edition, or, from page 57 to 80 in PDF file. 4. The 64 Angas of Bhajana Sri Bindu Vikasini Freedi. 1. Sri Guru Padasraya, taking shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Guru. In all the scriptures which promote bhakti, the unlimited glories of Sri Guru have been described. Without taking shelter at the lotus feet of a Sadguru, it is impossible to enter into the realm of Bhagavad Bhajana. Therefore, out of all the agas of bhakti, Sadguru Padasraya has been cited first. It is the duty of all faithful persons who have a desire for Bhagavad Bhakti to take shelter at the lotus feet of a spiritual master who is a genuine preceptor of the S4STRAS, expounding the glories of Bhagavan, and who is expert in understanding and explaining the mantras describing Bhagavan. All anarthas are easily removed only by the mercy of such a genuine spiritual master, and thus one also obtains the supreme favor of Bhagavan. By the mercy of Sri Guru, all anarthas are easily destroyed. Srila Jiva Goswami has demonstrated this in his Bhakti Sandarbha, Anakata 237, by citing the evidence of various $4 stras. He has explained this by the statement of Brahmaji as well. The mantra, which is given by the Guru, is itself the Guru, and the Guru is directly the Supreme Lord Hari. He upon whom the spiritual master is pleased also obtains the pleasure of Sri Hari himself. Comment: the Guru's internal, spiritual mood of service to Sri Radhika and Krishna is conveyed to the disciple through the medium of a mantra. Everything is given in seed form within the manway. At first the disciple will not be able to understand, but by performing sadhana and bhajana under the guidance of Sri Gurudeva and by meditating on the mantra given by him, gradually everything will be revealed. Therefore it is said here that the mantra is the direct representation of Sti Gurudeva. In the Hari Bhakti Vilasa, 4.360, it is stated, even if a person incurs the displeasure of the Lord, the spiritual master may still give him protection, but if the spiritual master is displeased, there is no one to give him protection. Therefore, one should please Sri Gurudeva by all endeavors of one's body, mind, and words. The author Shrila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura has also said, Yajya Prasadad Bhagavat Prasado Yajya Prasadanene Gata Kuto Pai. For one who pleases the spiritual master, the Supreme Lord is automatically pleased, but for one who displeases the spiritual master, there is no means of obtaining success. Therefore meditate upon Sri Gurudeva, offer prayers to him, and bow down before him 3 times a day. What is required to be a guru? This has been stated in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 11.321 in the Bhakti Sandarbha, Anakata 202. Srila Jiva Goswami has defined the meaning of the words $ab per anus natum in the following statement, Sab Brahmani Vitat Paradavakarina nis nadarn tathivanas tharh praptam, per Brahmani Bhagavate dirapavir aparaksanabhavana. One who is expert in explaining the purport of the Vedas, which are Gabda Brahma, who has direct experience of Parabrahma, the Supreme Brahman, Sri Krishna, and who is devoid of all material expectations and requirements, should be accepted as a genuine spiritual master. One should take shelter of such a guru through the process of hearing in order to know the truth regarding sadhana, the means, and sadhya, the goal. Similarly, it has been stated in the Srutis, Mundaka Upanishad January 2, 12 Tad Vijayanartar Hase Gurumavabhagakat Samadpani Sritri Arha Brahmanistham. In order to obtain direct realization of the Supreme Absolute Reality, Bhagavatatva Vastu Vijayana, or knowledge concerning Prema Bhakti, a person who is desirous of his own welfare, should approach a Sadguru who knows the purport of the Vedas and who is learned in the truths regarding Sri Krishna. Taking an offering in one's hands, one should submit oneself to such a Sadguru with body, mind, and words. Srila Jiva Goswami has here described that the instructors who disseminate knowledge of Bhagavat Tattva are of 2 kinds: Saraga, with attachments, and Naraga, without attachments. Instructors who are greedy for wealth and who maintain desires for sensual enjoyment are known as speakers with material attachments or Saragavaktas. The influence of such instructors is not enduring. An instructor who is a topmost devotee of the Lord, Parama Bhagavad Bhakta, who is adept in relishing bhakti rasa and evoking spiritual emotions in others, sarasa, and who is capable of extracting the essence of anything, saragrahi, is known as aspyakar without attachments or naragavakta. The verse cited above refers exclusively to the instructor who is devoid of attachments, naragavakta. In Bhakti Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami, in examining Guru Tattva, has cited 3 types of gurus: Sravanaguru, Siksaguru, and Diksaguru. Sravanaguru, the person from whom one hears knowledge of the Bhaktas, Bhakti, and Bhagavat Tattva, is known as the Sravanaguru. In the conversation between Maharaja Nimai and the Nava-Yogendras in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 11.322, Ida said, a sadhaka should adopt the practice of bhakti free from all hypocrisy. He should approach a guru who knows all the truths related to Supreme Lord and who is very dear to the Lord. The sadhaka should receive instructions on Bhagavat Dharma from such a spiritual master. By carrying out those instructions, Bhagavan Sri Hari personally gives himself to the devotee. Such a person who gives instructions on how to execute bhajana is called a Sravanaguru. There may be many Sravanagurus, nonetheless, the sadhaka should take shelter of one Mahapurusha among them who is suitable to his nature and receive instructions from him regarding how to perform bhajana. 6. For guru out of many such competent Sravanagurus, one who gives instructions in bhajana which are just suitable to the bhava of the sadhaka is called a Siksaguru. There may be many Siksagurus also, however, it is advantageous to have one Siksaguru in particular who is conducive to one's mood. The Sravanaguru and the Siksaguru are usually one and the same person, as stated in the Bhakti Sandarbha, Anakata 206 Athas Sravanaguma Bhajana Siksagurva Prayakamkatvam iti tathivaha. The Sravanaguru and the Bhajana Siksaguru are usually the same person. The verses already in relationship to both the Sravanaguru and the Siksaguru. Diksaguru, one who gives a mantra for worship according to the rules and regulations of scripture, is called a Diksaguru or Mantraguru. The Diks for Guru should possess all the symptoms already described of a Mahapumusa, described in Sloka 4 in reference to Sadhu Sangha, and those described in connection with the Sadguru. The Diksaguru should be well conversant in the conclusions of the Vedas, he should be adept in expounding those conclusions, he should have direct experience and realization of Bhagavan, and he should be completely detached from material sense objects. If he is lacking in these characteristics, then the faith of the disciples will waver. There is only one Diksaguru. The 6 Guru should be in conformity with the Diksaguru, otherwise, impediments may arise in the practice of sadhana. Ordinarily the Diksaguru carries out the function of 6 Guru. In his absence, one should accept an advanced devotee possessing the characteristics already described as one Siksaguru. There is no direction that permits one to renounce a Sadguru, however, a guru who has become inimical to Vaisnavas, the Sastras, and Bhakti, who is engrossed in sense enjoyment, who is lacking discrimination as to what is duty and what is not duty, who is foolish, or who is following a path other than Sutta Bhakti should be given up. It is directed in various places in the S4STRA that one should then take Diksha again from a Vaisnava Guru in accordance with the rules and regulations. This is the purport of the verses quoted below from Bhakti Sandarbha, Anakita 238, Gur Api Avalaptasia Karyakaryam _Ajanata Utpatha Pratipanasia Paratyago Vidayate, Mahabharata, Udayogaparva, 178.48, in other words, one who accepts a mantra from a non-Vaisnava guru goes to hell. Therefore, one should again receive Diksha mantra from a Vaisnava guru in accordance with the rules and regulations. 2. Sri Krishna Diksha Siksati, receiving initiation and spiritual instructions, it is essential to accept Diksha and Siksha from a guru in order to gain entrance into Bhagavad Bhajana. In the Hari Bhakti Vilasa the following is said regarding Diksha, that religious undertaking which bestows divyajnana or transcendental knowledge and destroys papa, sin, papabija, the seed of sin, and avidya, ignorance, to the root is called Diksha by learned authorities in the absolute truth. Therefore, a faithful sadhaka will dedicate his entire self to the lotus feet of Sri Gurudeva, offer pranama unto him, and take Diksha from him by receiving a Vaisnava mantra in accordance with the rules and regulations of the Sastra. The meaning of divyajnana referred to above is that the jiva not a material phenomena, the jiva is an atomic particle of spiritual consciousness belonging to the Saksi Dhyana and Svarupa of Sri Krishna. By virtue of this, the jiva is nothing other than the Nityadasa of Bhagavan. This is also stated in the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 20.108, Jivara Svarupa Haya Krishnira Nityadasa. The Svartipa or identity of the jiva is to be an eternal servant of Sri Krishna. Although the jiva is by nature an eternal servant of Bhagavan, because his face has been averted from the Lord, Bhagavad Vimaketa, from a time without beginning, Anadikala, he has been wandering in various species of life. He is thus being scorched by the threefold miseries of material existence. By the causeless mercy of the ocean of mercy Sri Bhagavan or his devotees, the jiva attains sadhu sangha. By the potency of that sadhu sangha, the jiva offers himself at the lotus feet of Sri Gurudeva. By bestowing the Krishna mantra, Sri Gurudeva dispels the jiva's aversion toward the Lord, Bhagavad Vimaketa, and directs his attention toward the performance of Bhagavad Bhajana. He gives Sambandhajnana concerning Bhagavad Tattva, Jiva Tattva, and May 4 Tattva and awakens the dormant inclination of the jiva to serve the Lord, Bhagavad Unmukata. As a consequence of this, Papa, Papabija, and Avidya of the Sadhaka are all destroyed to the root. This procedure of Diksa4 is not completed in one day, rather, it is begun from the day of Diksha. In the Bhakti Sandarbha, Anakita 283, Srila Jiva Goswami has explained the meaning of Divyajnana in the following words, Divyarjyadnarn Hyatra Mantar Bhagavatsvarapajadnam, Tina Bhagavata Sambandhavais Sijyanadika Divyajnana is transcendental knowledge contained within a mantra which reveals the form and identity of the Supreme Lord, Bhagavatsvarpat, as well as the knowledge of the sadhakajiva's particular relationship with the Lord. The relationship between Bhagavan and the jiva is that of servant and served. Bhagavan is the served, Savaya, and the jiva is the servant, Savaka. This is only a general relationship. In the advanced stage, this same relationship manifests in one particular form out of the various moods of Dajya, Sakya, Vatsalya, or Madhura. Sri Gurudeva, knowing this very Pagadabhava, or in other words the natural, inherent disposition of the sadhaka, gives nourishment to that particular mood within his heart in order to bring it clearly into view. In the Hari Bhakti Vilasa, 2.12, quoting a statement from the Tattvasagara, it is said, just as bell metal is turned to gold by a particular alchemical process, a man can obtain to the state of being Advaita by the process of Vaisnava Diksha. By the word Enranam used in this verse, Srila Sanatana Goswami has indicated a person who has received initiation. In other words, a person who receives Diksha becomes Advaita * or twice born. By the word Dvijatvam he has indicated that one attains to the state of a Brahmana or one who knows the absolute truth Brahman. The word Dvijatva used here does not mean the state of being Advaita by initiation ito the sacred thread like that of the Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. By the procedure of Diksha the disciple is born again. This is called birth by Diksha, Diksha Janma. There are three kinds of birth: 1. Sakrajanma seminal birth or birth by mother and father; 2. Savitra Janma a ceremony in which a boy is initiated into one of the three twice-bomb classes by being invested with the sacred thread; and 3. Diksha Janma birth by the process of Diksha or spiritual initiation. Even a Sadra or an untouchable person, Antyaja, who is born in the lowest family obtains the Sariskaras for being Advaita upon being initiated in accordance with the regulations of the Pavikaratra. This is the purport of the following statement from the Mahabharata, Anasasana Parva, 143.46, as a result of these activities, O goddess, even a Sidra Bam in a low caste family becomes twice born and endowed with the Agama, the scripture. In a conversation between Rukmangada, a king, and Mahini quoted from the Skanda Purana it is said, Hari Bhakti Vilasa 2.60 Vamoru, O woman with beautiful thighs. All the auspicious activities of men are worthless without accepting Diksha. A person who is bereft of Diksha obtains birth in the animal species of life. In the Bhakti Sandarbha, Srila Jiva Goswami has said that without undergoing the Upana Yanasathskara * even children appearing in twice-born families are unfit to study the dollar astras and to perform yajnas. Similarly, without Diksha one is unfit to worship the mantra devata, or presiding deity of the mantra. It is seen in the dollar astras in connection with the glories of Bhagavan Nama that there is so much potency in the Lord's name that even without undergoing Diksha, purificatory ceremonies, Satkriya, or preparatory rites, Puraskarya, Harinama is competent to produce results as soon as it comes in contact with the tongue. This is expressed in the following statement of Sri Lakshmidhara cited from Padyavala 29. This Mahamantra, composed of the names of Sri Krishna, is so astonishingly powerful and accessible that it yields fruit as soon as it touches the tongue. Because it attracts even liberated souls who are purified at heart and whose desires are fully satiated, this mantra is supreme in its power of subjugation. It eradicates great sins which could not be destroyed by yajna, yoga, tapa, dana, and other means. Because it can be chanted anywhere at any time, it is so easily available that even Kandalas or anyone who is not mute can chant it. By its causeless mercy, it submits itself to a person who merely desires to chant. The rare wealth of moksha runs behind to serve it. Unlike other mantras, the chanting of this Mahamantra is not dependent on receiving Diksha from a guru, moral conduct, or preparatory rites. Srila Jiva Goswami, in discussing this topic in the Bhakti Sandarbha, 283, has said that in spite of the statements in the Sastras as to the autonomous potency of the holy name, the previous Mahajanas such as Sri Narada and so on first accepted Diksha from their gurus and then performed their sadhana and bhajana in worship of their Istadeva, the beloved deity of their heart. Similarly, those who desire to follow in the footsteps of those Mahapurusas must also accept Diksha into Bhagavad mantra from Sri Gurudeva, because without accepting Diksha, one's relationship with Bhagavan as Dajya, Sakya, and so on cannot be awakened. That relationship is established only by the lotus feet of Srt Guru. The custom of Diksha was honored by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers, the Gosvamis. It is prevalent even today in their followers. Shrila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura has clearly said that those persons who have abandoned the pursuits of karma yoga, jnana yoga, japa, tapa, and other processes of sadhana, who have accepted Bhagavan as their Istadeva and who are engaged in Sravana, Kirtana, and Smarana of Bhagavan Nama, but who have not accepted Diksha from a Vaisnava Guru according to the Vaisnava regulations, cannot attain the Supreme Lord. They will merely be prevented from entering hell, or in their next birth, by the influence of the bhajana performed from the previous life, they will obtain sadhu sadaga. By then taking shelter at the lotus feet of a guru, receiving Diksha from him and making advancement through the different stages of bhakti, they can attain the Supreme Lord. In the Hari Bhakti Vilasa, 5.450-451 quoting from the Skanda Purana, Srila Sanatana Gosvami has said, in the commentary on the above verse it is stated that upon receiving Diksha in accordance with the regulations of Astra, everyone, whether they be a Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, a woman, or a Sadra, becomes qualified to worship Bhagavan in the form of Salagrama Sila. The word Satstra from the verse means a Sidra who has received Diksha. After receiving Diksha, a Dalaradra no longer remains a Stra. In the Sastras, statements are sometimes seen forbidding women and Sadras from the worship of Salagrama Sila. These statements, however, do not apply to persons who have taken Diksha. They are intended for those who have not received Diksha, Yathavidi Diksar Gritva Bag Avid Pajaparai Sadhpur Ityartha. In the Sri Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, 1.298, the following verse is quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam, 11.322. One should know Sri Gurudeva to be one's supreme benefactor, friend, and most worshipable deity, the direct personification of Hari. One should always follow him without duplicity and take instructions from him about Bhagavata Dharma. By this practice, the Supreme Lord Hari becomes pleased and gives himself to the disciple. 3. Pritapurvaka Guru Seva, serving Sri Guru with love. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sri Krishna himself has declared to Uddhava, know the Acharya to be my own very self and never disrespect him. Never find fault with him, considering him to be an ordinary man, for all the Devatas reside within Sri Gurudeva. All those anarthas which cannot be removed even by very rigid practice of sadhana are easily destroyed by serving Sri Gurudeva without duplicity. Yajya Prasadad Bhagavat Prasado, Yajya Prasadanene Gadi Kuto *pi. The mercy of Sri Guru is itself the mercy of Bhagavan. If one has the mercy of Sri Guru, then even if Bhagavan is displeased, the spiritual master will take responsibility to please him. But if the spiritual master is displeased, then Sri Bhagavan will never forgive such an offender. Therefore, considering the spiritual master to be one's supreme friend, one should serve him with great love. Some persons who are not conversant with the conclusions of the Dalarastras serve only the spiritual master, thinking him to be Bhagavan. They think that there is no need to perform service or bhajana of the Lord separately. Such persons go as far as offering tulasi and other articles at the feet of Sri Gurudeva. This thinking is opposed to the Sastras. According to the Sastras, just as one possesses parabhakti toward Sri Bhagavan, one should similarly possess bhakti toward the lotus feet of Sri Gurudeva, otherwise, all one's efforts in sadhana and bhajana will bear no result. For one who has parabhakti toward the Supreme Lord and toward Sri Gurudeva, all the conclusions mentioned in the Sastras regarding the supreme, ultimate reality, Sri Bhagavan, become manifest in his heart. For those who have no bhakti toward the lotus feet of the spiritual master, the conclusions of the Dalar-Forstra are not revealed. Plus, Sadhu Marganusara, following the path of sadhus, the method by which the mind may be fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna can be called sadhana bhakti. but one should pursue the very same path by which the previous Mah4Janas attained the Lord. The reason for this is that the path which has already been chalked out by the Mahajanas is free from all distress and hardship, and it is the cause of all auspiciousness. Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu 1.2-100, from Skandapurana, no path can be properly ascertained by any one individual. All the previous Mahajanas following in consecutive succession one after another have made the path of Bhakti Yoga neat and clean and free from obstruction. They have eliminated all the petty obstacles and disturbances along the path and made it very easy and free from fear. Therefore, we must take support from the specific path which they have laid. Even though one may be engaged in Ikantiki Bhakti, exclusive devotion, toward Lord Hari, yet if one transgresses the regulations of the Sastras like the Sruti, Smriti, Puranas, or the Parikaritra, his bhakti can never produce a beneficial effect. Rather, it will simply be the cause of calamity. Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu 1.2-101, from Brahma Yamala, a question may be raised here as to how Ikantiki Bhakti toward Lord Hari could ever be the cause of calamity. In response to this it is said that the exclusive or one-pointed mood, Ikantika Bhava, of Sutta Bhakti is obtained only by taking support of the path of the previous Mahajanas. By abandoning the path of the previous Mahajanas and erecting some other path, the mood of one-pointed devotion is not obtained. Therefore, Dattatreya, Buddha and other recent teachers, not being able to comprehend Sutta Bhakti, accepted in its place a mere reflection of Sutta Bhakti and thus propagated paths which were mixed with Mayaveda and atheism, Nasti Kata. Some aspect of Ikantiki Hari Bhakti is attributed to these paths, but in reality the paths introduced by those persons are not Hari Bhakti, they are a disturbance, Utpada. In the bhajana of those who pursue the Ragamarga, there is no dependence upon the regulations of the Sruti, Smriti, Puranas, and Pavikaritra. It is dependent simply upon following of the Lord's eternal associates of Braja. But for those sadhakas who have adhikari for the Vidhi Marga, it is essential to take support only of the path of bhakti specified by Dhruva, Prahlada, Narada, Vyasa, Sukha and other Mahajanas. In particular, it is even more beneficial to follow the path shown by Sri Ripa, Sanatana, Raghunatha Dasa Goswami and other associates of Sri Sasanandana Gaura Hari, who is the savior of the fallen conditioned souls of the age of Kali and who is decorated with the sentiment and complexion of Sri Radha. One should also follow subsequent Mahajanas following in their line. Therefore, for Vedha Bhaktas there is no method other than following the path of sadhus. 5. Bhajanariti Niti Prasna, questions about the procedures of bhajana. Sad Dharma means true religion, or in other words the religion of true sadhus. In the association of saintly persons, sadhakas should inquire about those procedures which the sadhus have adopted to attain the Lord. To inquire with great persistence in order to understand those procedures is called inquiry about Sad Dharma. This has been stated in the Narada Pavikaritra, Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu 1.2-103, those whose minds are exceedingly anxious to know all about Sad Dharma, or the procedures of bhakti, very quickly attain all their cherished goals. 6. Krishnarthakila Bhagataiga, renunciation of all enjoyment for the sake of Krishna, to enjoy material pleasure through activities such as eating, drinking, sleeping, and mating is called bhagat, material enjoyment. This bhagat is principally opposed to bhajana. Bhajana becomes easily accessible by giving up such material enjoyments for the sake of Krishna bhajana. A person attached to sense enjoyment is like a person addicted to intoxication. He becomes so engrossed in the enjoyment of material pleasure that he cannot perform pure bhajana. Therefore, he should only accept Bhagavat Prasada in the mood of service. He should protect and maintain the body only to keep it fit for the service of the Lord. He should give up all types of material enjoyment, particularly on holy days such as Ekadasi, Janmashtami, Ramanavami, Falguni Gaura Purnima, Nrasiddhyakatardasi, and so on. 7. Tirthabasa Tirthamahatmayas Ravanati Ca, to live in a sacred place and to hear the greatness of such places, by living in close proximity to holy rivers like the Ganga or Yamuna connected to the Lord's pastimes, or by living in sacred places where the Lord appeared and enacted various pastimes, Nistha is awakened. In the Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, 1.2.105-107, the following has been said about residing at a holy place, Skanda Purana: by living in Dvaraka for 1 year, 6 months, 1 month, or even for 15 days, a man or woman becomes a four-armed denizen, a Vaikuntha. The glories of Purazata Madama, Jagannatha Puri, are extraordinary. The Devatas from the celestial planets look upon all living beings spread within a radius of 10 yojanas, approximately 80 miles, of this sacred place as four-handed denizens of Vaikuntha. The Sastras have extensively proclaimed the glories of residing on the bank of sacred rivers like the Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari, and others. The above verse is taken from Srimad Bhagavatam, 1.19.6. The Bhagavati, Ganga, which carries the most sacred water mixed with the dust of the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and the beautiful, alluring Tulasi, purifies everyone in this world as well as the world beyond, Paraloka, including Siva. Therefore, who is there on the verge of death who will not take up her service? In other words, all should engage in the service of the Ganga. In Java Dharma, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura has said that residente anywhere within the 32-mile radius of Sri Navadvipa, and in particular within Mayapura, is identical to residence within Sri Vrindavana. Of the 7 holy places which yield liberation, namely, Ayodhya, Mathura, Maya, Kasi, Kadasai, Avantika, and Dvaraka, Mayapura is the chief. The reason for this is that in Mayapura Sriman Mahaprabhu has manifested his eternal abode of Svetadvipa. 4 centuries after the appearance of Sriman Mahaprabhu, this Svetadvipa has become the most important of all the holy tirthas on the planet Earth. By living at this place, all kinds of offences are destroyed and one obtains Sutta Bhakti. Srila Prabodhananda Sarasvati has described this Dhamma to be non-different from Sri Vrindavana, and in some places he has given even greater importance to Sti Mayapura. Those who are incapable of living at the above-mentioned holy places can hear the glories of those places, and by doing so, a strong desire will arise to live there. When the time is ripe, they may then obtain the good fortune to reside at a holy place. 8. Svabhakti Nirvahanurpta Bhojanati Svikaram, accepting only what is required for the sustenance of bhakti. In the Naradiya Purana it is said, Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu 1.2.108, a wise person, Arthavat, or one who actually knows the value of wealth, should accept only as much wealth and other things as is required in order to be steadfast in carrying out one's obligations in the matter of bhakti. 4. If one accepts more or less than one's actual requirement, he falls down from spiritual life and thus his real wealth, paramartha, becomes spoilt. Sadhakas who are fit for Vaidhi Bhakti may earn wealth by honest means prescribed in accordance with Varnasramadharma in order that they may sustain their existence. It is beneficial for them to accumulate wealth only in proportion to their needs. If one is anxious to seize more than what he requires, attachment will arise which will systematically destroy his bhajana. If one accepts less than what he needs, it will also be detrimental, because by doing so, one will be in scarcity and his bhajana will dwindle. Therefore, until one has earned the qualification to become completely desireless, nirapeksa, he should practice Sutta Bhakti and accept wealth only in a proportion appropriate for the maintenance of his existence. 9. Sri Akadi Vrata, observing the vow of Ekadasi. The name of Sutta Ekadasi is Hayavazara, or the day of Lord Hari. Sutta Ekadasi means pure Ekadasi. This refers to a circumstance in which there is no overlapping or mixture of tithas or lunar days. When the Ekadasi, 5, Seva Paradha 32 offences to be avoided in service Sri Bindu Vikasini Freedi, it has been previously stated that one must give up offences in regards to service. In the Agama Sastra these Savaparadhas are said to be of 32 types. 1. To enter the temple wearing sandals. 2. To enter the temple seated on a palanquin. 3. To disrespect or to fail to observe the festivals of one's cherished deity, Istadeva. 4. To not offer prostrated obeisances to one's cherished deity although being present directly before him. 5. To offer prayers to the Lord without washing the hands and mouth after eating. 6. To offer prayers to the Lord in an unclean condition. 7. To offer obeisances with only one hand. 8. To show one's back to the Lord while circumambulating. In circumambulating the Lord, one first passes along the right side of the deity, then behind the back, next along the left side, and finally one comes face to face with the deity again. As one continues circumambulating, one must tum so as to avoid showing one's back to the deity as one passes in front of them. To fail to do so is an offense. 9. To spread one's feet in front of the deity. 10. To sit in front of the deity with hands binding one's raised knees. 11. To lie down in front of the deity. 12. To eat in front of the deity. 13. To tell lies in front of the deity. 14. To speak loudly before the deity. 15. To converse with one another about mundane subjects before the deity. 16. To shed tears on account of earthly matters before the Lord. 17. To show favor to or to reprimand someone before the deity. 18. To speak harshly to others in front of the deity. 19. To wear a coarse blanket in front of the Lord or while serving the deity. 20. To blaspheme others in front of the deity. 21. To praise others. 22. To use obscene language before the Lord. 23. To pass wind before the Lord. 24. To serve the Lord by offering him secondary or minor articles although competent to offer first-class items, i.e., at the time of worshipping the deity. If one is competent to offer all the principal paraphernalia of worship such as flowers, tulasi, incense, lamp, and food offerings, but instead offers only secondary items like water, it is an offense. 25. To eat food items that are not offered to the Lord. 26. To not offer the Lord the fruits and flowers that are in season. 27. To personally enjoy the first portion of anything or present it to someone else and then offer the remainder to the Lord. 28. To sit with one's back to the deity. 29. To offer obeisances or salutation to others in front of the deity. 30. To remain silent in front of one's spiritual master, that is, to not offer prayers and obeisances to him or to remain silent without responding to his questions. 31. To praise oneself, and 32. To slander the devatas. These are the 32 types of seva aparadha. One should strictly avoid them. Other seva aparadhas that have been mentioned in the Varaha Purana are briefly stated here as follows: to eat grains supplied by the king or government, to touch the deity in a house or temple permeated by darkness, to approach the deity without following the scriptural regulations, to open the door of the temple without ringing a bell or making any sound, to collect items which have been left by a dog or other animals, to break one's silence at the time of worshipping the deity, to go out in order to evacuate at the time of worship, to offer incense without first offering scents and flower garlands, to worship with forbidden flowers, to worship the Lord without cleansing one's teeth or without bathing after sexual intercourse, to worship the deity after touching a woman in menstruation, a lamp, or a dead body, to worship the Lord wearing red or blue clothes, unwashed or dirty clothes or clothes belonging to another, to worship the deity after seeing a dead body, to pass wind while worshipping the deity, to worship the Lord in anger, after visiting a cremation ground, or in a state of indigestion, and to touch and worship the deity after taking an oil massage. To commit any of these activities is an offense. In other SA4STRAS as well there are seva aparadhas that are worthy of attention: to propagate other sastras while disregarding those that are related to the Lord, to chew betel, tambala, in front of the deity, to worship the deity with flowers kept in the leaves of castor plants or other forbidden plants, to worship at forbidden times, when demoniac influences are prominent, to worship while sitting on a four-legged wooden stool or without any sitting mat, asana, to touch the deity with the left hand at the time of bathing the Lord, to worship with stale flowers or with flowers which have already been asked for by others, to spit at the time of worship, I am a great pujari, to glorify oneself in such terms, to apply tilaka on the forehead in a curved manner, to enter the temple without washing one's feet, to offer food grains to the Lord cooked by a non-Vaisnava, to worship the deity in the presence of a non-Vaisnava. To worship the deity after seeing a Kapalika asterisk without first offering worship to Lord Sri Nrsimhadeva, to bathe the Lord with water touched with the fingernails, to worship when the body is covered with perspiration, to step over the offerings to the Lord, and to take a vow in the name of the Lord. Many other seva aparadhas have been mentioned in the scriptures. 6. Namaparadha Gurutva, the severity of Namaparadha. Sri Bindu Vikasini Fridi Sadhakas should remain thoroughly attentive to avoid committing all the above mentioned offences. Even a person who has committed all kinds of offences is redeemed by taking shelter at the lotus feet of Sri Hari. If a most wretched and fallen person, a two-legged animal who has committed severe offences at the feet of Sri Hari ever takes shelter of the holy name of Sri Hari, then the holy name alone mercifully delivers him from all such offences. There is no doubt of this whatsoever. Therefore, Sri Hari Nama is the best friend of all. But if one should commit an offence at the feet of Sri Hari Nama, his fall down is inevitable. The above two verses are quoted from Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, 1.2.119-120, 7. Namaparadha Sri Bindu Vikasini Varti. 10 kinds of Namaparadha will now be described in connection with the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. 1. To commit offences against the Vaisnavas by slandering them, and so on, 9 adi. The word adi here refers to the 6 kinds of Vaisnava aparadha indicated in the following verse from the Skanda Purana quoted in the Bhakti Sandarbha, Anakata 265, to beat Vaisnavas, to slander them, to bear malice or envy against them, to fail to welcome them, to become angry with them, and to not feel happiness upon seeing them. By these 6 types of Vaisnava aparadha, one falls down to a degraded position. 2. To consider Lord Shiva to be the Supreme Lord, separate and independent from Lord Vishnu. 3. To consider Sri Gurudeva to be an ordinary human being. 4. To slander the Vedas, Puranas and other scriptures. 5. To consider the praises of Sri Harinama to be imaginary, in other words, to consider that the praises which have been described in the Sastras in reference to Harindma are not actually present in the holy name. 6. To give an unauthorized and misleading explanation of Sri Harinama, in other words, to abandon the established and reputed meaning of the $astras and foolishly concoct some futile explanation, for example because the Lord is incorporeal, nirakara, formless, arapat, and nameless, anama, his name is also imaginary. 7. To engage in sinful activities again and again, knowing that there is such power in the holy name that simply by uttering Sri Harindma all sins are vanquished. 8. To consider all kinds of religious or pious activities to be equal to Sri Harinama. 9. To instruct faithless persons about Sri Harinama. 10. To not awaken love for the name in spite of hearing the glories of Sri Nama. These 10 offences must certainly be avoided. In the practice of Hari Bhajana, one should first of all be very attentive to avoid all seva aparadhas and namaparadhas. One should know these aparadhas to be severe obstacles on the path of bhajana and vigorously endeavor to give them up. Without giving up these offences, there can be no question of advancement in bhajana, rather, the sadhaka's fall down is assured. The sadhaka should also be vigilant not to commit any seva aparadhas in the matter of arcana or worship of the deity. Seva aparadhas which are committed unknowingly in the course of serving the deity are mitigated by wholehearted surrender unto Lord Hari, by offering prayers unto him and, in particular, by taking shelter of Sri Hari Nama. The holy name mercifully forgives all one's seva aparadhas. Sri Hari Nama is even more merciful than the Sri Vigraha. But if in spite of taking shelter of Sri Harindma one is inattentive again in the matter of namaparadha, then his fall down is assured. 8. Vaidhi Bhakti. Now the symptoms of Vaidhi Bhakti are being described. If the yagas of bhakti such as Sravana and Kirtana are performed out of fear of scriptural discipline, it is called Vaidhi Bhakti. Sri Cakravartipada Sanskrit commentary Sri Bindu Vikajani Fridi Bhakti is of 2 kinds, Vaidhi Bhakti and Raganuga Bhakti. The angas of sadhana which are performed on the path of bhakti of both these types are generally considered to be one and the same. Nonetheless, there is specific distinction between them. In some devotees intense longing or greed, labha, is the cause of engagement in bhakti, whereas, in others the discipline of the Dalarastras is the cause of engagement in bhakti. Sadhana bhakti which is not inspired by intense longing, but is instigated instead by the discipline of the sastra is called Vaidhi Bhakti. Bhakti rasamrta sindhu, 1.26, one should understand what is meant by the discipline of the sastra. In Srimad Bhagavatam and all the scriptures, Bhagavad Bhakti is said to be the supreme duty for the jivas. If a person fulfills all his worldly obligations but does not engage in Hari Bhajana, he descends to a dreadful hell. The original Supreme Lord is himself the creator of the 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas. He is the Lord, the controller, and the soul of them all. Therefore, if anyone belonging to the 4 Vamas and 4 Sramas fails to worship the Lord and disrespects him instead, he is deprived of his position, social status, vara and ashrama, and falls down to hell. In the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya, 22.26, Srila Kaviraja Goswami has described the substance of this sloka in the verse given below. The Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sadras may perfectly carry out their Varnadharma. The Brahmacharis, Grastas, Vanaprasthas, and Sannyasis may thoroughly execute their Ashramadharma. If, however, they do not worship Sri Krishna, then although they may obtain elevation due to material prestige, their piety will wane, and they will most certainly fall down to the hell known as Raurava. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, 7.132, Devarsai Narada has said, the basic and primary aim of all types sadhana is to fix the mind on Krishna by whatever method is effective. This is stated in the Padma Purana also, that which has been ascertained in the sastras to be duty for the jivas is called vidhi, regulation, and that which has been forbidden is called niseta, prohibition. Vaidha dharma for the jivas or religion that is enacted in accordance with scriptural regulations involves observance of the rules and giving up prohibitions. One should remember Lord Vishnu at all times. This is the basis of all positive injunctions or vidhi. All the regulations of Varna and Agrama are attendants of this primary injunction. Never forget the Lord at any time. This is the basis of all prohibitory injunctions or niseta. All the prohibitory injunctions such as the avoidance of sins, abandonment of apathy toward the Lord, and atonement of sins, are attendants of this primary prohibition. To observe these rules and prohibitions is to accept the discipline and direction of the scriptures. When the jivas are engaged in bhakti out of fear of violating the directions of the sastras, it is called Vaidhi Bhakti. By taking dargana of the Sri Vigraha of the Lord and by hearing the sweetness of the pastimes of Sri Krishna in childhood, boyhood, and youth, as described in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, intense longing, labha, arises for the practice of bhajana. When intense longing has not arisen, in other words, when labha is not the cause of one's engagement in bhakti, and the discipline of the sastra is alone the cause for such engagement, it is called Vaidhi Bhakti. 9. Raganuga Bhakti Sri Bindu Vikasini Friti Bhakti, which involves the practice of the angas of bhakti such as Sravana and Kirtana carried out by sadhakas with intense longing, labha to obtain the service of their innermost desired object, Vrajarajanandana, Sri Krishna, is called Raganuga Bhakti. Raganuga Bhakti is performed in 2 ways, 1, with the sadhakarapa with the external body through execution of the angas of bhakti, and, 2, with the siddharapa with the internally conceived body that is suitable for carrying out the perfected service, prima seva for which one aspires. Residing in Vraja with an intense desire to obtain one's cherished object Sri Krishna and the divine sentiments, bhava, of his beloved associates, that is, ratai towards Sri Krishna, one should follow in the footsteps of the eternal residents of Vraja, the dear associates of Sri Krishna, such as Sri Radhika, Lalita, Visakha, and Sri Ripamadachari. One should also adhere to their followers such as Sri Ripa Gosvami, Sanatana Gosvami, and others. With one's internally conceived body, siddharapa, one should execute service within the mind, m4 nasai seva, in accordance with the eternal associates of Brajas such as Sri Radha, Lalita, Vigaka, and Sri Rupa Madhujari. With the external body, Sadhakarayapa, one should carry out bodily services following in the wake of perfectly realized devotees such as Sri Rupa and Sanatana who are also residents of Braja. If someone raises the objection that the word Brajaloka refers only to Sri Radha, Lalita, and others, then with the Sadhakadeha, the external body, one should perform bodily services following in their wake. If this indeed were the case, then the followers of those eternal associates would not find it necessary to carry out the angas of bhakti such as taking shelter of a spiritual master, Sri Guru Padasraya, observance of Ekadasi, worship of Salagrama, worship of Tulasi, and so on, since it is not mentioned anywhere that Sri Radha and Lalita ever performed such activities. However, this erroneous conclusion, apasiddhanta, held by skeptics who have taken shelter of modern adverse opinions is also refuted by the word Vrajaloka. In his commentary to this Gloka of Sri Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, 1.2295, Srila Jiva Gosvamipada has explained the same thing, namely, that the word Vrajaloka refers to the dearmost associates of Sri Krishna and their followers such as Sri Rupa Gosvami and others. Therefore, one should perform internal service, Manasi Seva, through the medium of the Siddhataha by following in accordance with Sri Rupa Madhujari and other Vrajavasis. With the Sadhakadeha, one should perform bodily service by following Sri Rupa Gosvami and others. Comment: according to the conclusion of the 6 Gosvamis, Srila Kavaraja Gosvami and other Rasika Vaisnava Acharyas, the Lila Rasa of Brajendrananda and Sri Krishna is the object to be tasted by Raganuga Sadhakas. But it is not possible to taste the Lila Rasa of Sri Krishna without entering into Sri Gaura Lila. In other words, only through the medium of Gaura Lila it possible to taste the Lila Rasa of Sri Krishna. In Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 25.271, 274, Srila Kavaraja Gosvami has stated this as follows: the pastimes of Sri Krishna are the essence of all transcendental nectar. These nectarine pastimes flow in hundreds and hundreds of streams, inundating the 10 directions. The pastimes of Lord Caitanya are an imperishable reservoir of nectar, saturated with the pastimes of Krishna. O swan-like mind! Please wander on this transcendental lake. The devotees situated in various transcendental moods are like swans and Kakravaka birds who play upon the transcendental lake of Krishna's pastimes. The sweet bulbs of the stalks of lotus flowers are the sportive amorous pastimes of Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna eternally enacts such pastimes and, consequently, they are the foodstuff for the swan-like devotees who have taken shelter of Sri Gaurajendari, who is the eternal embodiment of Vipralambha Rasa and identical in form to Sri Krishna, the eternal embodiment of Samagarasa. In his book Prarthana, 13, Srila Narottama Thakura has similarly written, Gaura Prema is an ocean of rasa. Those who submerge themselves in the waves of that ocean, emerge in the waves of the confidential and intimate service of Radha Madhava. Srila Kavaraja Gosvami and Srila Narottama Thakura have composed the above verses for the benefit of Raganuga Sadhakas. Therefore, Rag 4 Anuga Sadhakas should taste Krishna Lila through the medium of Gaura Lila. Consequently, it is essential for sadhakas to remember Gaura Lila and to follow the eternal associates of Lord Caitanya. Since it is necessary to follow the Gaura Parakaras, it is certainly imperative that one observe the angas of bhakti, Guru Padasraya, Ekadasi Vrata, Tulasi Seva, Sri Salagrama Seva, and so on, which were practiced by the foremost associates such as Srila Rupa Goswami and others. There is no doubt about this. Sri Rupa Goswami, who is an eternal associate of Sri Gaurajendara, serves Sri Radhakrishna as Sri Rupa Madhujari in Krishna Lila. Sri Rupa Madhujari, appearing as Srila Rupa Goswami with the attitude of a sadhaka, weeps again and prays anxiously to obtain the service of Sri Yugala. Sometimes while praying in this way, he would become so deeply immersed in the emotional trance of Rapa Madhujari that he would taste the happiness of direct service. Therefore, Raganuga Sadhakas must certainly follow Sri Rupa Sanatana and other Gosvamis. Opposed to this are those who vainly consider themselves as Rasika Sadhakas but who do not adopt the Angas of Bhakti, such as Guru Padasraya and Ekadasi Vrata. They can never obtain the service of Sri Yugala. This subject is extremely deep. Without the mercy of Sri Gurudeva or Sudarasika Bhaktas, the Sadhaka cannot conceive of his Siddhatiha, perfected spiritual body, by himself. Therefore, the contemplation of one's Nitya Siddhatiha arises of its own accord only by the merciful indication of Sri Gurudeva. By continual remembrance of Astakalya Lila, the pastimes of Krisaya performed in 8 divisions of the day, performed internally, Manasi Seva, with the Nitya Siddhatiha, one obtains Svarapasiddhi, perception of one's eternal perfected form which occurs at the stage of Bhavabhakti, and ultimately Vastusiddhi. Vastusiddhi is attained after giving up this body and taking birth in Krishna's Bhamalila, from the womb of a gopi. After attaining the association of Krishna's eternal associates and being purified of all final traces of material identification, when prema is intensified, one attains Vastusiddhi. But one should always bear in mind that not everyone has the eligibility to perform Yugala Seva by meditating in this way on their supramundane, aprakrita, daily pastimes. This practice must be concealed very diligently. One should not disclose these pastimes to ineligible persons. Until genuine greed, labha, to enter into the ragamarga arises in the heart of the jiva bound by matter, this subject should be kept hidden from him. One remains ineligible to hear the confidential pastimes of Sri Yugala which are saturated with rasa as long as the conception of the transcendental nature of the Lord's name, form, qualities and pastimes has not implanted itself in the heart. In other words, one should understand that the name, form, qualities and pastimes of Sri Krishna are fully constituted of pure spiritual transcendence, Sudasinmayasvarapa. When ineligible persons hear or study these pastimes they recall only the illusory and mundane association of men and women and are thus compelled to fall down. Thus they sink down into the muck of debauchery. Therefore, judicious students, proceeding cautiously, may enter into this 114, after having obtained the appropriate impressians, sariskara, for a prakritis rigorarasa, following the example of Devarsai Narada. The fundamental conclusion is that only upon obtaining the aforementioned eligibility can the sadhaka undertake the discipline, sadhana, of Raganuga Bhakt. By following this method of sadhana while still plagued with anarthas and without the appearance of genuine greed, the opposite effect will be produced. When genuine greed for Vrajabhajana arises, one should first of all take shelter of a dear devotee of Sri Gaurajandhara who is identical in every respect to Steve Rajendranandana. The beloved devotees of Lord Gaura will instruct us on the path of Raganuga sadhana in accordance with our eligibility. Otherwise, if one falls into bad association and by ill advice, imitates the bhajana practices of those on the highest level of eligibility, then under the guise of adopting one's siddhatiha one will obtain only a harmful effect. Some persons, distorting the meaning of the instruction that one should perform bhajana according to the residents of Vraja, consider themselves as Lalita, Visakha, or others. Although males, they adopt a female dress and perform bhajana making themselves out to be Sakais. By such practices, they destroy themselves and others. They think, I am Lalita, one am Visakha. This attitude leads to ahangrayapasana of the Mayavadis. Ahangrayapasana is a type of worship in the course of which one considers himself to be identical with the object of worship. Such persons become offenders at the feet of Lalita and Visakha and fall down to a most dreadful hell. Without faithful adherence to the Vrajagopis, no one is entitled to enter into the conjugal service of Yugalakagara. Even amongst the various types of Sakais, the Mahajari Sakais are themselves followers of the Sakais. To perform bhajana in allegiance to the Mahajari Sakais is the aspiration of Sriman Mahaprabhu. This is supported by Srimad Bhagavatam and the $4 stras composed by our Gosvamis. In order to pursue Mahajari Bhava, one must certainly follow the associates of Sri Gaurajandhara such as Ripa and Sanatana Gosvamis. Srila Narottama Thakura has expressed this in his song dealing with the worship of Mahajari Bhava. In one verse of this song, he has indicated his own heartfelt longing. Prarthana, 39. Srila Narottama Thakura says, the lotus feet of Sri Rupamadajari are my supreme wealth. To meditate upon and serve those lotus feet are my topmost methods of bhajana and bhajana. They are a treasure more precious to me than life itself. They are the ornament of my life. Not only that, they are the very life of my life. He also says, Prarthana, 40. Have heard from the mouth of Vaisnava sadhus that only by the mercy of Srila Rupa Goswami can one obtain the lotus feet of Sri Yugala. Crying out, alas! Alas! Again and again, Sri Narottama Thakura exclaims, O Sanatana Prabhu! O supremely merciful Vaisnava associates of Lord Gaura! All of you please fulfill my heart's longing. Pray again and again that the mercy of Sri Rupa Goswami may shower down upon me. Copyright What wonder! One who has attained the shelter of the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami is indeed most fortunate. When will my Srila Gurudeva, Srila Lokanatha Goswami, take me with him to meet Sri Rupa Goswami and offer me at his lotus feet? Now the methodology of Raganuga Bhakti is being described. The sadhaka, continuously remembering Sri Krishna in the pastime form which is most cherished by him and the beloved associates of Sri Krishna whom he desires to follow, should always reside in Vraja with great attachment to hearing their Lila Kath 4. One should remember Krishna as Navakagara, a fresh youth, and Nadavara, the best of dancers, and at the same time one should remember Sri Rupa Madhajari and other Priya Sakhis of Sri Krishna who are deeply affected with the sentiments that one cherishes in his heart. Being intently focused on this kind of remembrance, the sadhaka should always live in Vraja. If one is capable, he should physically take up residence in Vrindavana, Vindavana, Nandajayan, Varsana, Govardhana, Sri Radhakunda, and other places in Vraja. Otherwise, he should adopt residence in Vraja within his mind. In the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita the following is said in connection with the cultivation of Raganuga Bhakti, cc. Madhya 22.159, 161, 164, the practice of Raganuga Bhakti is undertaken in two ways, with the Sadhakasarara, the external body, and with the Siddhasarara, the internal perfected spiritual form. With the external Sadhakadeha, one should adopt the angas of bhakti such as Sravana, Kirtana, and so on. With one Siddhasarara, revealed by the mercy of the spiritual master, one should serve Sri Radhakrishna Yugala day and night in Vraja. Following the beloved associate of Sri Krishna that one cherishes within one's heart, the associate towards whose service the sadhaka has developed labha, one should constantly serve Yugalakaguru with an enraptured heart. By following the mood and sentiment, bhava, of one of Krishna's associates among the servants, friends, parents, or lovers, corresponding to one's own disposition, the sadhaka attains affection for the lotus feet of Sri Krishna that is exactly of the same nature as the associate whom he follows. This is the method of Raganuga Bhakti. 10. Further discussion on Rajanagud Bhakti, Srimad Bhagavatam, 11.2920, Sri Bindu Vikasani Fridi in Raganuga Bhakti, referred to above, the predominant atiga is smarana, remembrance. Smarana should be related to Krishna and his beloved associates who are distinguished by pastimes, lila, emotional rapture, avasa, and natures, svabhava, that are appropriate for one's own internal spiritual mood. The other angas of bhakti such as kirtana and so on should also be related to Krishna and his dear ones who are characterized by pastimes, emotional rapture, and natures befitting one's own internal spiritual mood. In the process of arcana, worship of the deity, one is recommended to employ mudras, particular positions of intertwining the fingers, nyasa, consigning the pranas or the 5 life airs to the mind, or mental assignment of various parts of the body to different deities, meditation on Dvaraka, worship of the queens of Dvaraka, and so on. Although these limbs of bhakti are prescribed in the Agama Sastras, they are not to be followed in Raganuga Bhakti because they are unfavorable to one's particular spiritual mood, bhavapratikala. Thus on the path of bhakti, although there may be some diminution or relinquishment of certain atigas, no detrimental effect will ensue. In regards to this topic, Bhagavan Sri Krishna has said to Bhakta Uddhava, Srimad Bhagavatam, 11.2920, copyright Uddhava. Once the practice of Bhakti Dharma consisting of Sravana and Kirtana related to me has begun, no harm whatsoever can be done to the root of Bhakti, even though there may be diminution of certain aragas. This is because Bhakti Dharma is beyond the jurisdiction of the material modes of nature. There is no possibility of its being destroyed by any means because have ensured this Dharma in this way for my unalloyed devotees, Niskama Bhaktas. On the path of Bhakti, no harm is done either by non-performance of the assortment of activities appropriate for Varnashrama or by diminution of certain angas of Bhakti. This is fine. But there is certainly great harm if there is diminution of any of the principal angas of Bhakti, such as taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual master, Sravana, Kirtana, and so on. Therefore, one should take great care that there be no decline in any of the principal angas of Bhakti. This is declared in the Agama Astra as quoted in Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, 1.2101. Although engaged in single-minded devotion to Lord Hari, if one transgresses the regulations mentioned in the Shruti, Smriti, Puranas, and the Narada Padakaratra, great misgivings, anarthas, are produced. There is one more point to be considered. A devotee who has an intense desire, labha, within his heart to obtain the spiritual mood of the Vrajavasis and who executes all the atigas of bhakti in accordance with the Vidhi Marga, obtains fidelity only to Rukmini and the other principal queens of Dvaraka. In other words, he attains to the position of the queens of Dvaraka. Comment: because the practice of smarana is predominant in Raganuga Bhakti, some persons, prior to the actual appearance of raga within the heart, make a deceitful display of solitary bhajana while still plagued with anarthas. They consider themselves as Raganuga Bhaktas and thus begin to practice remembrance of Astakalya Lila. But to display the exclusive devotion that is described in the Sruti Smriti Puranadi verse is for them the cause of great disturbance. Some ineligible persons who are entangled in anarthas obtain so-called siddhaprandli by going here and there, and by imitation, they begin to consider themselves fit to conduct the practice of Raganuga Bhakti. But without the appearance of genuine greed, labha, they cannot obtain qualification by pretentious means. Because the Vidhi Marga is mixed with the mood of Dvaraka and the majestic conception, Aiksvarya, one cannot obtain the service of Brajendranandana Sri Krishna by that means. This is confirmed in Caitanya Charitamrita, Madhya, 8.226, Vidhamarjna hi Pai Braj Krishnakandra. One cannot obtain Sri Krishnakandra in Vraja by following the Vidhi Marga. 11. 5 types of Raganuga Siddhana Sri Bindu Vikasani Freeti. The distinctive point to be understood in this matter is that upon hearing of the sweetness of the conjugal mood, or the mood of the other rasas, displayed by Krishna's eternal associates in Vrajalila, one begins to think, his mood is possible for me also. When this type of greed arises, one is no longer dependent on the reasonings of the Sastra. As long as one is dependent upon the arguments of the Sastra, one has not obtained consummation of his greed. In other words, it should be understood from this that greed has not yet arisen in the sadhaka. This is so because greed is never observed in anyone who is dependent on the reasoning of the Sastra. Rather, by hearing about or seeing an enticing object, greed automatically arises to acquire it. Nonetheless, after the appearance of greed, when one inquires, how may this irresistible Vrajabhava be obtained, there is dependence upon the $4 because it is only in the $4 and nowhere else that the method of obtaining this is written. The Sastra from which this method may be known is Srimad Bhagavatam, for it has ascertained the method of Bhagavat Bhajana. Among the angas of Bhajana, some are Tad Bhavamaya, composed of Bhava, some are Tad Bhavasambandhi, related to Bhava, some are Tad Bhavaanakala, favorable to Bhava, some are Tad Bhavavirata, not opposed to nor incompatible with Bhava, and some are Tad Bhavapratakila, opposed to Bhava. Thus sadhana is seen to be of 5 types as explained below. 1. Bhavamaya. The 4 primary relationships of Dajya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhura are known as Bhavamaya sadhana. When Sravana, Kirtana and other such agas of bhakti become saturated with one of the bhavas of Dajya, Sakya, and so on, they nourish the future tree of the sadhakas prima. Therefore, Dajya, Sakya, and so on are called Bhavamaya sadhana. 2. Bhavasambandhi, the atigas of bhakti beginning from acceptance of the shelter of a spiritual master, mantra japa, hearing, chanting and remembering of the name, form, qualities, and pastimes appropriate for different periods of the day of dearest Sri Krishna and the beloved associates of Krishna toward whom one has attraction, and rendering various services unto them are known as Bhavasambandhi sadhana. The upadana karana, or material cause of bhava, is called Bhavasambandhi. That by which bhava attains maturity is called the material cause. Bhava is shaped or molded by the various angas of bhakti such as Guru Padasraya and so on. Therefore, these angas are called Bhavasambandhi sadhana, or that which is related to bhava. 3. Bhava anukula, the observance of Ekadasi, Janmastami, and Kartika Vrata, the renunciation of sense pleasure and other austerities performed for the pleasure of Krishna, offering respect to Tulasi, the Pipala tree, the holy fig tree, and others. All of these agas of bhakti performed with great eagerness to obtain one's cherished bhava, among the 4 attitudes of Dajya, and so on, are favorable to bhava. In other words, they are helpful for the attainment of bhava, therefore, they are known as Bhava Anukula sadhana. 4. Bhava Avirata sadhana, wearing the remnants of flower garlands and other paraphernalia offered to the deity, stamping one's body with the syllables of Sri Hari Nama, offering obeisances, and other such angas of bhakti are called Bhava Avirata sadhana. That which is not opposed to the attainment of one's bhava is Bhava Avirata. It is one's duty to carry out the previously mentioned angas of bhakti. 5. Bhava Pratikula, mental assignment of different parts of the body to various deities, NY4SA, particular positions of intertwining the fingers, mudra, meditation on Krishna's pastimes in Dvaraka and other such aragas should be abandoned in Raganuga Bhakti because they are opposed to the attainment of one's desired bhava, Bhava Pratikula. Thus, according to one's eligibility, one is obligated to perform the atigas of bhakti prescribed in the Sastra and to reject those which are forbidden. Third way, Bhava Bhakti in the budding stage of ecstatic love. 12. Bhava Bhakti Sri Bindu Vikasanivarti. Now Bhava Bhakti is being described. This Bhava Bhakti is not obtained by any means of sadhana. Rather, by continual performance of Sravana, Kirtana and other atigas of bhakti, when bhakti attains maturity, it automatically cleanses all misgivings from the heart of the sadhaka. At that time Bhava Bhakti manifests itself in the one's parent heart by the mercy of Sri Krishna or his devotees. Comment, Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, 1.3.1, Bhava Bhakti, Bhavaripa Krishnayana Silana, is a special manifestation of Suddhasattva. In other words, the constitutional characteristic of Bhava Bhakti is that it is a phenomena entirely constituted of Suddhasattva. It is like a ray, kirana, of the sun of Prema, and it softens the heart by various tastes, rusai. In his commentary on this verse, Shrila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura has written as follows: when the previously mentioned sadhana bhakti succeeds in softening the heart by various tastes, rusai, it is called Bhava Bhakti. The word rusai here refers to 3 kinds of taste. 1. Bhagavad Praptayabhilasa, desire for the attainment of Sri Krishna. 2. Anukulyayabhilasa, desire to do that which is favorable to Krishna. And 3. Sahardabhilasa, desiring to serve the Lord with affection. The constitutional identity or svardha of Bhava Bhakti is that it is fully composed of Suddhasattva, Suddhasattva-Satma. The word Suddhasattva refer to the self-manifest cognitive function, samvidvrti, of the Lord's own internal spiritual energy known as Svarupasakti. The addition of the word Vaisa to the word Suddhasattva indicate the second supreme potency, Mahasakti, of Svarupasakti known as Ladani. It should be understood from this that the condition known as Mahabhava, which is the highest state of development of the Ladani Sakti, is also included within Suddhasattva Vaisa. Therefore, that supreme function, Paramaprapti, which is fully possessed of desire favorable to Sri Krishna, which is the essence of the combination of the Samvit and Ladani potencies, and which is situated in the heart of the Lord's eternal associates, being indistinguishably unified with the condition of their hearts, tadatma bhava, is known as Suddhasattva Satma. In simpler language, the Nityasiddha bhava situated in the hearts of the eternal associates of Sri Krishna is called Suddhasattva Atma. This bhava bhakti is like the first ray of the sun of Prema Bhakti. Therefore, it is also called the sprout of Prema, Premankara. In the Sri Caitanya Charitamrita, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura has explained this verse in simple and straightforward language. We are citing his words here for the benefit of the reader. Prema Bhakti is the fruit of sadhana bhakti. There are two categories of Prema Bhakti: the state of bhava and the state of Prema. If Prema is compared with the sun, then bhava can be said to be a ray of the sun of Prema. Bhava, which is of the identity of Visuddhasattva, melts the heart by various kinds of taste, rasa. At first, while describing the general symptoms of bhakti, it was said that bhakti involves the cultivation of activities in relationship to Krishna, Krishnanasilana. The state in which that cultivation becomes saturated with Visuddhasattva and softens the heart by rasa is called bhava. When bhava makes its appearance within the faculty of the mind, it attains the state of identification with the mental faculty. In reality, bhava is a self-manifest condition, but when it makes its appearance within the mental faculty, it appears as though it was brought into manifestation by the faculty of the mind. That which is referred to here as bhava is also known as rati. Although rati is itself relishable, it is understood to be the cause of tasting Sri Krishna and various paraphernalia related to Sri Krishna. It should be understood here that rati, the word rati also means love or affection, is that particular bhava. The word bhava also means love, affection, or emotion, which is a fully spiritual reality, cit tattva. It is not a substance belonging to the world of inert matter. The rati, mundane affection, which the Bhaddajivas have toward mundane sense objects, is merely a perverted reflection, arising from contact with matter, of a fragmented portion of the true spiritual bhava of the jiva. When, within the world of matter, one takes up the cultivation of activities in relationship with the Supreme Lord, then rati in its cognitive aspect, samvitarhasa, becomes the cause of tasting worthy objects which are related to the Supreme Lord. At the same time, by virtue of its pleasure-giving aspect, hladani, rati itself bestows spiritual delight. On the appearance of bhava bhakti, the 9 following symptoms are observed. Bhakti rasamrta sindhu, 1.3.25-26, Kaisanti, forbearance or tolerance, avyarthakalatva, effectual use of one's time, virakti, detachment from worldly enjoyment, manasinyata, absence of pride, 48a bandha, steadfast hope that Krishna will bestow his mercy, samatkantha, intense longing to obtain one's goal, namagain sadarosai, always possessed of taste to chant the holy name, tad gunakyaniyasakti, attachment to hearing narrations of the Lord's qualities, and tad vasatis tale pretty, affection for the transcendental residences of the Lord. These are the 9 sprouts of love of God, pretty, or in other words, the symptoms of the appearance of bhava. 1. Kaisanti, when the heart remains unagitated in spite of the presence of some disturbing element, such a condition is called kaisanti, forbearance, or tolerance. 2. Avyarthakalatva, to spend one's time exclusively in Bhagavad Bhajana, avoiding all other futile material engagements, is called avyarthakalatva, effective use of one's time. 3. Virakti, a natural distaste for material sense enjoyment, is called virakti, detachment. Upon the appearance of bhava within the heart, attraction toward the spiritual dimension, cit jagat, becomes progressively stronger, and one's taste for the material world gradually perishes. This is real detachment. Those who, upon the awakening of this natural detachment, adopt the external feature and dress of a renunciant in order to diminish their material necessities can be called renounced Vaisnavas. But those who adopt the external feature of a renunciant prior to the appearance of bhava do so unlawfully. By chastising Chota Haridasa, Sriman Mahaprabhu has imparted this lesson to the world. Plus, manasunyata, to remain devoid of pride in spite of one's elevated position, is called manasunyata, Absence of pride. Pride arises from high birth, social classification, vama, stage of life, for srama, wealth, strength, beauty, high position, and so on. In spite of possessing all these qualities, the sadhakas in whose hearts bhava has manifested easily renounce all these vanities. According to the Padma Purana, King Bhagarata, the crest jewel among kings, having attained Ratai towards Sri Krishna, completely renounced the pride of kingdom and wealth. He performed bhajana and maintained his existence by begging from door to door in the cities of his enemy kings. He always offered obeisances and praise to everyone, whether they were brahmanas or kandalas, dog-eaters. 5. Asa Bandha Sri Krishna will certainly bestow his mercy upon me. To apply one's mind very diligently in bhajana with this firm faith is called 464 Bandha, steadfast hope that Krishna will bestow his mercy. 6. Samatkantha Tuntense longing for one's desired object of attainment is called Samatkantha. When Bhavabhakti manifests in the heart of the sadhaka, his hankering to obtain Srt Krishna increases day by day. The desire to serve Sri Krishna becomes the obsession of his heart. This is nicely expressed in Sri Krishna Karmamrita, 54, as quoted in Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, 1.336, my eyes are ever restless to see that Vrajakesari who enchants the entire world, whose eyebrows are dark, syama, and slightly curved, whose eyelashes are thick and dense, whose eyes are always restless to see those who are possessed of anuraga, or whose eyes always display anuraga, whose mild speech is exceedingly soft and filled with rasa, whose lips are as sweet and tasty as nectar and slightly reddish copper in hue, and who carries a flawless flute whose inexplicably sweet and mild tones maddens all, and incites the gopis. This kind of intense hankering to see Sri Krishna is called Samatkantha. Itis ever present in the hearts of Bhavabhaktas. 7. Namagame Sadarosai loving thirst to always sing Hari Nama is called Namagame Sadarosai. 8. Gunakyaniyasakti natural and spontaneous attachment for the descriptions of the Lord's supremely charming qualities is called Gunakyaniyasakti. The significance of this attachment is that for the devotees in whom bhava has arisen, Jata Bhavabhaktas, the thirst to hear and describe the charming pastimes of Krishna, which are decorated with all auspicious qualities, is never satiated. The more they hear and describe the Lord's qualities, the more their thirst increases. 9. Tadvasadist Hail Pretty T. The desire to reside in Stevindavana, Sri Navadvipa and other spiritual abodes of the Lord is called Tadvasadist Hail Pretty, affection for the transcendental residences of the Lord. Comment. For instance, a devotee, in the course of circumambulating Brajamandala, arrives in Vimdavana and, being overwhelmed with spiritual emotion, Bhavabhakti, inquires as follows from the Vrajavasis, O residents of Braja, where is Savakyatija, Nidhyavana and Vamsivata? A Brajavasi Bhakta takes him by the hand and leads him to Savakyajaya. Arriving at Savakonija, he falls down in the courtyard and begins to roll on the ground. He exclaims, how wonderful! At this very spot Rasika Kakravarti served the lotus feet of our worshipable mistress Ramati Radhika. O Savakyatija! O dust particles of this place! O creepers and trees of this place! May you kindly bestow your mercy upon us. When will we obtain the mercy of Sevakutija? This is called affection for the places of the Lord's residence. A second example is as follows. Some devotee, while performing parikrama of Navadvipa Dhamma, inquired with tearful eyes and the hairs of his body standing upright due to ecstasy, O Dhammavasis! Where is the birth site of our Gaurajandara? Which path did he use to follow while performing kirtana with his devotees? Being shown these places by the residents of the Dhara, his voice becomes choked up with spiritual emotion, Bhavabhakti, he begins to roll on the ground and exclaims, how wonderful! This is my Upara Dhamma. Even though it is non-different in every respect from Vraja, it confers even greater mercy than Vraja. O birthplace of Gaurajandara! Please bestow your mercy upon this insignificant and worthless person. Saying this again and again, that devotee becomes deeply overwhelmed with spiritual emotion. This is called affection for the places of the Lord's residence. To reside in these places with great love and perform bhajana also is included within this characteristic. These 9 symptoms, anubhavas, are manifest in the devotee in whose heart the sprout of bhava has arisen. It may be understood that the devotee in whom the sprout of love is visible has become eligible to receive the direct audience of Krishna. If some of these symptoms of bhava are perceived in karmis who are anxious for material sense enjoyment or jnanis who aspire for liberation, then one should know this to be but a reflection of bhava, pratibimba, or in other words, a semblance of rati, ratyabhasa. This should not be considered as a genuine manifestation of bhava. If the symptoms of bhava are seen in ignorant persons by virtue of their association with devotees, this is known as a shadow of rati, chaya ratyabhasa. Comment in Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, 1.3.45-51, there is the following description of ratyabhasa. Ratyabhasa is of 2 kinds, 1. Pratibimba, reflection, and 2. Chaya, shadow. 1. Pratibimba ratyabhite 4 satf ratyabhasa, which appears like genuine rati due to the presence of 1 or 2 symptoms such as tears and horripilation, is expressive of the desire for happiness in the form of buddhi and muddy. It is known as pratibimba ratyabhasa. This reflection of rati easily fulfills the desired aspiration for happiness in the form of buddhi and muddy without undergoing great endeavor. In his commentary on this verse, January 3, 46, Srila Visvanath explains that the principal nature of Bhagavati Rati is that it is free from all material designations or adulterations, upadis. The presence of designations is symptomatic of the semblance of Rati. Where such designations exist there is striving for some secondary or inferior inclination. In the mumuksus, or those who are desirous of liberation, there is the desire for muddy, and in the karmakandis there is the desire for elevation to the heavenly planets. These are adulterations. The mumuksus and the karmis know that the Lord bestows liberation and material enjoyment, and thus they engage in bhakti to the Lord directed toward the fulfillment of these 2 ends. Their performance of bhakti is not primary but secondary, for bhakti or Bhagavati Rati is not the end desired by them. Nonetheless, due to the power of performing the yagas of bhakti, tears and horripilation arise in them. Because they are adulterated with desires for buddhi and mud, their tears and horripilation are but a reflection of Bhagavati Rati. The power of even this reflection of Rati is such that without undergoing the laborious sadhana that constitutes the Jnanamarga, they can easily obtain the partial happiness of buddhi and muddy. How this pratibimba ratyabhasa arises in them is described in the next 2 verses. Sometimes persons who are attached to material enjoyment and liberation adopt the angas of bhakti such as kirtana in the assembly of pure devotees in order to obtain their desired aspiration. By such performances they remain pleased at heart for a considerable time. By the influence of the association of pure devotees in whose hearts the moon of bhava has arisen, some such persons may have the extreme good fortune of having the moon of bhava reflected in their hearts. In his commentary on these 2 verses, 1.3.47-48, Srila Visvanath has said that it is only due to the association of devotees in whose hearts bhava has arisen that bhava is reflected in the hearts of persons attached to bhaga and moksha. This reflection occurs during the performance of kirtana undertaken in the association of pure devotees. The tears and horripilation which are observed in such persons are not symptoms of genuine rati but of pratibimba ratyabhasa. Srila Visvanath raises a question that when there is intervention of a cloud, the moon is not reflected on a reservoir of water. So when the mumuksus and those desiring material enjoyment are separated from the association of pure devotees, how can the reflection of bhava remain in their hearts? He answers this by saying that the transcendental influence of the association of Jaitarati Bhaktas is so powerful that even when separated from such persons the reflection of bhava remains in the hearts of the mumuksus and bhagakamas for a long time in the form of subtle impressions or samskaras. 2. Chaya ratyabhasa, that ratyabhasa which bears some resemblance to sudarati, which possesses curiosity or inquisitiveness of an insignificant nature, which is unsteady, and which relieves material distress is known as chaya ratyabhasa. by even incidental association with activities such as Kirtana, times such as Janmashtami, places like Sri Vrindavana, and persons dear to Lord Hari, Che for Ratai sometimes arises even in ignorant persons. This Jadaratai can never arise without extreme good fortune. Good fortune here refers to the samskaras of bhakti acquired in a previous life or the association of devotees from this life or the previous life. When Sudaratai manifests to a very slight extent by virtue of the association of Jaitabhava Bhaktas or at the time of performing sadhana in Vaidhi Bhakti, it is called Chayaratyabhasa, a shadow of Ratai. This shadow of Ratai is not steady. This semblance of Ratai is sometimes observed even in ordinary persons who are ignorant of the truth by the influence of the association of devotees. It is a great fortune for the jivas when Chayaratai, which is of the form of the luster, Kanti, of Sudaratai, arises in them, for upon its appearance the jivas gradually obtain good fortune. Fourth way Prema Bhakti Bhakti in the mature stage of ecstatic love. 13. Prema Bhakti Sri Bindu Vakajani Friti. The mature stage of Bhava Bhakti is called Prema. The symptom of Prema is that even when obstacles or impediments are present, there is not even the slightest diminution of affection, Bhava. A superior condition of Prema is marked by an increase of mamata and is known as sneha. The word mamata refers to a deep sense of attachment or possessiveness in relationship to Sri Krishna by which one thinks, Krishna is mine. Sneha is symptomized by the melting of the heart. Superior to this is the condition known as raga. The symptom of raga is extreme affection, sneha. Superior to this is the condition known as pranaya. The symptom of pranaya is deep faith. Comment in Sri Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, 1.41, the general definition of prema has been given as follows: Bhava Bhakti which melts the heart much more so than in its initial stage, which greatly augments the feeling of transcendental bliss, and which bestows a deep sense of mamata, possessiveness, in relationship to Sri Krishna is called prema by the learned. Shrila Visvanath Cakravarti Thakura's commentary to this loka is translated as follows: the subject of prema is being discussed with reference to the previously described Bhava Bhakti. When bhava thickens beyond its previous condition, then it begins to make the inner recesses of the heart much more tender, moist and soft than before. It produces an experience of concentrated transcendental bliss, and bestows extreme mamata towards Sri Krishna. This mature stage of bhava is called prema. The following doubt may be raised here. According to Sankhya philosophy, the material or immediate cause, updana karana, abandons its previous condition and is transformed into its effect. At that time it no longer remains as a cause, or in other words, there is no more existence of its prior condition. For instance, when Gouda, jaggery, a type of solid unrefined molasses, is transformed, it abandons its former state and becomes unrefined sugar, kanda. When it becomes unrefined sugar, Gouda can no longer be conceived as having its own separate state because the Gouda has been transformed into raw sugar. Similarly, unrefined sugar, kanda, becomes refined sugar, chini, and refined sugar becomes rock candy, misri. In the condition of rock candy there is no separate existence of Gouda, unrefined sugar, and refined sugar. In the same way, when bhava matures into prema, why should there be any separate existence of bhava? When prema matures it gradually increases and takes the forms of sneha, mana, pranaya, raga, anuraga, bhava, and mahabhava. At that time, only mahabhava should remain. Why should there be any existence of ratai, prema, sneha, mana, and the other prior conditions? This cannot be said because ratai is a distinctive and superior function of Krishna's Ladanayakti. By the power of Sri Krishna's inconceivable potency or asantya sakti, ratai, sneha, mana, pranaya, and so on attain successively higher states without giving up their previous conditions. The separate existence of each and every condition is certainly to be admitted. For example, it can be said that when Sri Krishna's childhood form, Balyadeha, is imbued with a particular sweetness, then without giving up the condition of childhood, it attains to the boyhood form, Pagandadeha. Again, when the Pagandadeha attains even greater sweetness and excellence, it assumes the form of fresh youth, Kaigaradiha. Unlike the material body of the jivas, Krishna's body is never subject to any transformation arising from age. Sri Krishna's Balya, Paganda and Kaisara forms, as well as the lilas connected with them, are all eternal. But when the Paganda form manifests, the Balyadiha disappears from this universe and manifests in some other universe. Simultaneously, the Balya Leela is also revealed in that universe. Therefore, as regards the revelation of the unmanifest pastimes, Aprakata Lila, within Vrindavana of the earthly sphere, Bhama Vrindavana, where the Balya Lila begins, the Balyadiha also becomes manifest. In the Vaivasvata Manvantara of the next Kalpa, day of Brahma, when the Prakata Lila of Vrindavana is manifest in this universe, then at that time the Balyadiha will again be manifest in this very same universe. Therefore, as regards eternal phenomena, it is only a matter of accepting their appearance and disappearance. In the hearts of devotees in whom Ratai, Prema, and the other stages of the state bhava have been aroused, a particular aspect of the state bhava, Ratai, Prema, Sneha, and so on, sometimes arises due to contact with the stimulating elements known as vibhava. At that time, that particular feature of the state bhava becomes manifest externally, while the other bhavas remain in the unmanifest condition. In ordinary worldly-minded persons who are possessed of lust, anger, and so on, when one emotion is manifest the others remain dormant within in the form of latent desires and impressions, saraskaras. When the appropriate opportunity comes about, the other emotions assert themselves. Similarly, Ratai, Prema, and so on sometimes become manifest by contact with specific stimuli and at other times they remain concealed within. Daksina Vibhaga, Southern Division, Samanya Bhagavad _Bhakti-rasa Narapaka General Characteristics of Bhagavad Bhakti-rasa Sloka 14 Overview of Bhakti-rasa First Wave Vibhava The causes of tasting Bhakti-rasa Second Wave Anubhava External symptoms of ecstasy Third Wave Satvikabhava Symptoms of ecstasy arising from Sattva Fourth Wave Vyabhikaribhava Internal transitory emotions Sloka 15 to 16 Fifth Wave Stayabhava Permanent or dominant emotions Sloka 17, 14 Overview of Bhakti-rasa Sri Bindu Vikasani Freeti when Krishna Ratai, or in other words, the Stayabhava, the permanent emotion of the heart in one of the five primary relationships of Santa, Dajya, Sakya, and so on, becomes exceedingly tasty for the devotee by virtue of the elements known as Vibhava, Anubhava, Satvikabhava and Vyabhikaribhava, induced through the medium of Sravana, Kirtana, and so on. It is called Bhakti-rasa. In other words, when the Stayabhava or Krishna Ratai mixes with Vibhava, Anubhava, Satvikabhava and Vyabhikaribhava and becomes fit to be tasted in the heart of the devotee, it is called Bhakti-rasa. Components of Bhakti-rasa when the state bhava mixes with Vibhava, Anubhava, Satvikabhava and Vyabhikaribhava and produces an extraordinary taste within the devotee's heart, it is called Bhakti-rasa. Vibhava, Alambana, that in which Ratai is tasted, Vasilambana, the object of Ratai Krishna, Astadlambana, the reservoir of Ratai the devotee, Udapana, that which stimulates Ratai Stayabhava the permanent sentiment in one of the five primary relationships of Santa, Dajya, Sakya, Vatsalya, or Madhurya, which is known as Mukhya-ratai. This also refers to the dominant sentiment in the seven secondary mellows, Gana-ratai, of laughter, wonder, chivalry, compassion, anger, fear, and disgust. Anubhava visible actions which illustrate the spiritual emotions situated within the heart, dancing, singing, and so on. Satvikabhava 8 symptoms of spiritual ecstasy arising exclusively from Visuddhasattva or in other words, when the heart is overwhelmed by emotions in connection with Mukhya-ratai or Gana-ratai. Vyabhikaribhava 33 internal spiritual emotions which emerge from the nectarine ocean of Stayabhava, cause it to swell, and then merge back into that ocean. Comment the terms Vibhava, Anubhava, Satvikabhava, Stayabhava and Bhakti-rasa are defined in the following quotes from Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, Bhakti Rasamrta Sindhu, 2.115, that in which Ratai is tasted and that cause by which Ratai is tasted are called Vibhava. Vibhava is of two varieties, 1. Alambana, the support or repository of rati, and 2. Udapana, that which stimulates or excites rati. Bhakti rasamrta sindhu, 2.21, the symptoms which reveal the spiritual emotions situated within the heart are called anubhavas. When they manifest mostly as external actions, they are known as udbhasvara, that which gives light or makes apparent. Bhakti rasamrta sindhu, 2.31, when the heart is overwhelmed by any of the five primary sentiments, mukharati, in relationship with Sri Krishna of Daisya, Sakya, and so on, stimulated by direct contact with him, or when the heart is overwhelmed by the seven secondary sentiments, ganarati, of laughter, tragedy, and so on, induced by a circumstance in which Krishna is somewhat apart, learned scholars called this condition sattva. The bhavas or spiritual emotions arising strictly from sattva are known as sattvika bhavas. The previously mentioned anubhavas such as dancing, singing, and so on, like the sattvika bhavas, arise from emotion in relationship with Krishna, or in other words, when the mind is overwhelmed by emotion in relationship with Krishna. However, symptoms such as dancing and singing are done with conscious intention and therefore they are not counted as sattvika bhavas. The sattvika bhavas are also referred to as anubhavas because they illustrate the emotions situated within the heart. Therefore, to distinguish between anubhavas and sattvika bhavas, the word udbhasvara is used to refer to those anubhavas which do not arise exclusively from sattva. The symptoms such as becoming stunned, stamha, standing of the hairs on end, pulaka, and so on arise spontaneously from sattva. Therefore they are known as sattvika bhavas. In his commentary on Bhakti rasamrta sindhu, 2.15, Srila Goswami explains the nature of rasa. This Krishnarati is the stayabhava, and it is transformed into bhakti rasa. How does it become bhakti rasa? By combination with vibhava, anubhava, sattvika bhava, and vyabhikari bhava. In other words, when Krishnarati is aroused by the stimulating elements, vibhava, transmitted through the medium of sravana, kirtana, and so on, and gives rise to various ensuing emotions, anubhavas, sattvika bhavas and vyabhikari bhavas, the combination of all these elements produces an extraordinary taste within the heart which is referred to as bhakti rasa. Stayabhava will be described elaborately further ahead. Here, it is sufficient to know that when Krishnarati is augmented, it attains to different levels such as sneha, mana, pranaya, raga, anuraga, bhava, and mahabhava. All of these are known as stayabhava, or permanent emotions, of Sri Krishna Bhakti. When these various gradations of the stayabhava combine with the appropriate vibhavas, anubhavas, sattvika bhavas and vyabhikari bhavas, bhakti rasa is produced and yields an unprecedented taste. Bhakti rasa is of 12 varieties and each of these has its own stayabhava. For example, 1. The stayabhava of santarasa is santirati, tranquility. 2. The stayabhava of daisirasa is prityrati, affection in servitude. 3. The state bhava of sakyarasa is sakyarati, friendship. 4. The stayabhava of vatsalyarasa is vatsalyarati, parental affection. 5. The stayabhava of madhurarasa is priyadarati, conjugal love. 6. The state bhava of hajirasa is hasarati, laughter. 7. The stayabhava of adbhutarasa, wonder, is vismayarati, astonishment. 8. The stayabhava of virarasa, heroism, is utsaharati, enthusiasm. 9. The stayabhava of karunarasa, compassion, is sakarati, sorrow or lamentation. 10. The stayabhava of raudrarasa is krodharati, anger. 11. The stayabhava of bhayanakarasa is bhayarati, fear. And 12. The stayabhava of vibhatsarasa is jugupsarati, disgust. Although bhakti rasa is accepted to be of 12 varieties, in the final analysis, 5 rasas are predominant. The 5 stayabhavas on which these are based will be discussed elaborately ahead. Vibhava Krishnarati is of 5 kinds: Santa, Daisya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhura. that in and by which rati is stimulated and thus caused to be tasted is called vibhava. Vibhava is of two kinds: alambana, the support, and udapana, the stimulus. That in which rati is stimulated is called alambana, the support or shelter of rati. That by which rati is stimulated is called udapana, the stimulus for rati. Alambana vibhava is also of two varieties: vasyalambana and asrayalambana. He for whom rati is aroused is called vasyalambana, the object of rati, and one in whom rati is aroused is called asradlambana, the receptacle of rati. Sri Krishna is the vasyalambana of Krishna rati and the devotees are the asrayalambana. That by which rati is stimulated is called udapana vibhava. Udapana vibhava refers to all those things which stimulate remembrance of Sri Krishna, such as his dress and ornaments, the spring season, the bank of the Yamuna, forest groves, cows, peacocks, and 50 on. Anubhava, the actions which display or reveal the emotions situated within the heart, are called anubhavas. The anubhavas are 13 in number: 1. Nritya, dancing; 2. Viluthita, rolling on the ground; 3. Jita, singing; 4. Krogana, loud crying; 5. Tanumotana, writhing of the body; 6. Hankara, roaring; 7. Jairimbana, yawning; 8. Dalarvasabhuma, breathing heavily; 9. Lokayanapexita, giving up concern for public image; 10. Lalasrava, salivating; 11. Adahasa, loud laughter; 12. Garna, staggering about; and 13. Hika, a fit of hiccups. Satvikabhava, that which causes perturbation to be aroused within the heart and body, is called Satvikabhava. The Satvikabhavas are of 8 kinds: 1. Stamha, becoming stunned; 2. Svita, perspiration; 3. Romaphika, standing of the hairs on end, plus Svarabhanga, faltering of the voice; 5. Kampa, trembling; 6. Vavarna, pallor or change of color; 7. Agruha, tears; and 8. Pralaya, loss of consciousness or fainting. All these Satvikabhavas are manifested in 5 stages of intensity. 1. Dhumayata, smoldering, when a Satvikabhava manifests in a very small quantity by itself or combined with another symptom and is capable of being hidden. 2. Jaivalita, flaming, when 2 or 3 symptoms manifest prominently at the same time and can be concealed only with difficulty. 3. Dipta, burning, when 3, 4, or 5 Satvikabhavas manifest very powerfully and when it is not possible to suppress such expressions, plus Udipta, brightly burning, when 5, 6, or even all 8 of the Satvikabhavas manifest simultaneously and attain supreme exaltation; and 5. Sudipta, blazing, when all the Satvikabhavas reach the summit of expression, being extremely bright in their radiance. This condition is observed only in the gopis of Braja in the state of Mahabhava. Each of these stages yields greater happiness than the one preceding it. Satvikabhavas are further divided into 3 categories. 1. Snigdha, Smoth Satvikabhavas, which arise when the mind is overwhelmed with emotion in relationship with either the 5 primary mellows, Mukhyarati, or the 7 secondary mellows, Ganarati. 2. Digdha, smeared Satvikabhavas, which are not instigated either by Mukhya or Ganarati but which follow in the wake of Rati; and 3. Riksa, rough emotion, which arises in persons who are devoid of Rati. Snigdha Satvikabhavas are manifest only in the eternally perfected devotees, Nitya Siddha Bhaktas. Satvikabhavas which arise in Jatarati Bhaktas, those in whom Rati has made its appearance, are called Digdha Satvikabhavas. When these symptoms are seen in persons in whom Rati has not been aroused, they are called Riksabhava. In actuality, Satvikabhavas can occur only in persons in whom Rati has been aroused. When symptoms resembling the Satvikabhavas are manifest in persons who are devoid of Rati, they are known as Satvikabhasa, a semblance of Satvikabhava. Therefore, Riksa Satvikabhavas are also said to be an abhasa. Satvikabhasa is of 4 types: 1. Ratyabhasa; 2. Satvabhasa; 3. Nisattva, and 4. Pratipha. Ratyabhasa literally means an abhasa or semblance of rati, and Satvikabhite 4sa means assemblance of the symptoms known as Satvikabhavas. Ratyabhite 4sa Satvikabhasa, therefore, refers to those symptoms which resemble Satvikabhavas arising due to a semblance of rati. This Ratyabhasa refers to Pratibimba and Chayaratyabhasa previously described in the section on Bhava Bhakti. Persons who are desirous of liberation may adopt the aragas of Bhakti not for the purpose of obtaining Bhakti or Krishnarati but simply to attain Mutti. When such persons chant the holy name in the association of Bhava Bhaktas, they may manifest tears, horripilation and other symptoms. Because these symptoms arise from a reflection of the rati situated in the hearts of genuine Bhava Bhaktas, they are known as Ratyabhasa Satvikabhasa. When symptoms resembling Satvikabhavas are seen in mumuksus, those desirous of liberation, they are said to arise from Ratyabhasa. Sattvabhasa Sattvabha 4sa refers to those symptoms which arise from an abhasa of sattva. Sattva refers to the condition wherein the heart possessed of rati is overwhelmed by spiritual emotions such as jubilation, wonder, and despondency. When a person who is devoid of rati hears or chants about the Lord's pastimes in the association of pure devotees, he may become overwhelmed with some emotion which resembles those originating from sattva. In this case the symptoms he displays such as crying do not arise from a reflection of rati but merely from some emotion which resembles those arising from sattva. Therefore they are known as Sattvabhasa Satvikabhasa. These emotions generally arise in persons whose hearts are naturally soft, sithala. When symptoms resembling Satvikabhavas are seen in karmis or vasayas, sensualists, they are said to arise from Sattvabhasa. Nisattva refers to those symptoms which do not arise from sattva. The hearts of such persons are described as pikhila, slippery. Externally they appear to be soft-hearted, but internally they are hard-hearted. They exhibit symptoms merely by forced practice. Because the symptoms observed in such persons are devoid of even an abhasa of sattva, they are known as Nisattva Satvikabhasa. Pratipha. The word pratipha literally means adverse, contrary, or displeasing. When the enemies of Krishna display symptoms which resemble Satvikabhavas arising due to fear or anger, they are called pratipha Satvikabhasa. First way Vibhava. The causes of tasting Bhaktirasa Vasyalambana. Vibhava. Krishna's qualities as Vasyalambana. In the overview of Bhaktirasa given in the previous sloka, Vibhava is said to be of two types, alambana, the support, and udapana, the stimulus of rati. Alambana is also described to be of two kinds, Visaya, the object of rati, and Asraya, the reservoir of rati. Krishna's qualities are now described as part of what makes him the Visaya of rati. The qualities of Sri Krishna are sometimes classified as Visayalambana and sometimes as Udapana. Because Krishna's qualities are part and parcel of his form, they are included as Visayalambana. When the principal meditation is upon Sri Krishna who possesses various qualities, those qualities are thought of as belonging to the object of love and are therefore classified as Visayalambana. When, however, the principal meditation is upon the qualities of Sri Krishna and that remembrance stimulates love for Krishna, those qualities are considered as Udapana. Sri Krishna has 64 principal qualities. Out of these the first 50 are present to a minute extent in great personalities who are recipients of the Lord's mercy. The ordinary jivas, however, display but a shadow of a particle of such qualities. 1. Suramayaga. The construction of his limbs is exceedingly beautiful. 2. Sarvasal Laksana Yuddha. His body is marked with all auspicious characteristics. 3. Rusura. His beauty is a festival of bliss for the eyes. Plus, Tejasanvita. His body is radiant and he is extremely powerful and influential. 5. Valian. He possesses great strength. 6. Vayasanvita. He displays different ages and yet he is eternally situated in fresh youth. 7. Vividhad Buddhabhasavat. He is expert in different languages. 8. Satyavakya. His words never prove false. 9. Prayamveda. He speaks pleasantly even to offenders. 10. Vavadika. His words are ambrosial and pleasing to the ears. 11. Supandita he is learned and conducts himself appropriately with different kinds of persons. 12. Buddham 4 and his intelligence is sharp and subtle. 13. Pratibhanvata he is expert at improvising original conversation on the spur of the moment. 14. Vidagdha he is skilled in the 64 arts and in amorous pastimes. 15. Kachara he can accomplish many actions at the same time. 16. Daksa he can perform difficult tasks with ease. 17. Kritagya he is grateful for services rendered by others. 18. Sudrastavrata his promises and vows always hold true. 19. Disakalasupaitrajvya he is an expert judge of time, place, and person and works accordingly. 20. Sastrakaksu he acts in accordance with the religious scriptures. 21. Susi he is free from all sins and he purifies others from sins. 22. Vasi he is in full control of his senses. 23. Styra he perseveres until his work is completed. 24. Danta he endures even intolerable distress. 25. Kasamasitla he excuses the offenses of others. 26. Gambhira Lt is very difficult to understand the import of his mind. 27. Dridaiman his desires are fulfilled and he remains calm even in the midst of great anxiety. 28. Sama he is devoid of attachment and aversion. 29. Vadanya he is chivalrous in giving charity. 30. Dharmika he is religious and he incites others to adopt the path of religion. 31. Stra he is enthusiastic to fight and expert in the use of weapons. 32. Karuna he is unable to tolerate the distress of others. 33. Mainyam Anakrita he is respectful to his guru, brahmanas, and elders. 34. Daksina because of his excellent disposition, his actions are very pleasing. 35. Vinaya he is devoid of pride. 36. Herman he is bashful when he thinks that others have detected his amorous affairs and when glorified by others. 37. Saranagata Palaka he protects those who take shelter of him. 38. Sukha he enjoys pleasure and is untouched by distress. 39. Bhaktisarta he is a friend to his devotees and is easily pleased. 40. Premavajya he is controlled only by love. 41. Sarvasubhankara he is a well-wisher to everyone. 42. Pratapi he torments and terrifies his enemies. 43. Kirtam 4n he is famous by dint of his sterling qualities. 44. Raktaloka he is the object of love and attachment for everyone. 45. Sadhu Samasraya he is partial to the sadhus. 46. Naragana Manohari he is attractive to all women. 47. Sarvaradhaya he is worshipable to everyone. 48. Samriddhiman he possesses great opulence. 49. Varian he is superior to all. 50. Svara he is independent and his order cannot be transgressed. The next 5 qualities are partially present in Sri Siva. 51. Sadasvart Pasamprapta he is never controlled by the dictates of Maya. 52. Sarvahaya he knows the heart of everyone, and he knows all things even though there may be an intervention of time, place, and so on. 53. Nityanutana even though his beauty is always experienced, it is new at every moment and so astonishing that it appears as if it were never previously experienced. 54. Saksi Idyananda Sandrangha he is the concentrated embodiment of existence, consciousness, and bliss. The word Sat means that he pervades all time and space, the word Cit means that he is self-manifested, the word Ananda means that he is the abode of unadulterated Prema, and the word Sandra means that his form is so densely composed of Sat, Cit, and Ananda that it is untouched by anything else. 55. Sarvasiddhini Savita all mystic powers are under his control. The next 5 qualities are present in Sri Narayana and Mahavishnu. 56. Avasintya Mahagakti he possesses inconceivable potencies by which he creates the universes and manifests even the indwelling antaryami of those universes, by which he bewilders even Brahma and Rudra, and by which he destroys the prarabdha karma of his devotees. 57. Koti Brahmandavigraha, unlimited universes are situated within his body. 58. Avatara Valabija, he is the source of all incarnations. 59. Hatari Gadi Dayaka, he awards muddy to the enemies killed by him. 60. Atmaramagana Karsai, he attracts the liberated souls or those who rejoice in the self. The next four qualities are unique to Sri Krishna alone. 61. Lila Madhurya, he is an undulating ocean of astonishing pastimes out of which Rasalila is supremely captivating. 62. Prema Madhurya, he is surrounded by devotees who possess incomparable Madhura Prema which develops up to the stage of Mahabhava. 63. Venu Madhurya, the sweet and mellow sound of his flute attracts the minds of everyone within the three worlds. 64. Rapa Madhurya, his extraordinary beauty astonishes all moving and non-moving entities. Vasyalambana Vibhava, four kinds of Nayakas or heroes. Because Sri Krishna is the reservoir of all qualities and activities, he manifests the characteristics of all four different heroes at different times in accordance with specific pastimes. These four varieties of heroes are described below. 1. Dhirodata, the hero who is grave, humble, forgiving, compassionate, fixed in vow, unboastful, extremely powerful, and who thwarts the pride of heroic fighters is known as Dhirodata. Previous Acharyas have described Bhagavan Sri Rama as possessing the qualities of a Dhirodata Nayaka. These qualities are also observed in Sri Krishna. 2. Dhiralalita, the hero who is expert in the 64 arts and amorous sports, always situated in fresh youth, expert at joking, devoid of anxiety, and controlled by the prema of his beloveds is known as Dhiralalita. Sri Krishna clearly manifests the features of a Dhiralalita Nayaka. In the Natya Sastra these qualities are also said to be found in Kandarpa or Cupid. 3. Dhirasanta, the hero who is peaceful, tolerant of miseries, judicious, and humble is known as Dhirasanta. Learned scholars of the Natya Sastra have declared Maharaja Yudhisthira to be a Dhirasanta Nayaka. 4. Dhirodata, one who is malicious, proud, deceitful, angry, fickle, and boastful is known as Dhirodata. Learned scholars have accepted Bhimasena as a Dhirodata Nayaka. Although these characteristics appear to be false, they are accepted as qualities in Sri Krishna, because they are appropriate in specific pastimes in which he chastises the wicked in order to protect his devotees. Vibhava, the causes of tasting Ratai. 1. Alambana, those who taste Ratai. Visaya, the object of Ratai Krishna Anyarpa, in another form, e.g. when Krishna assumed the form of the cowherd boys and calves in the Brahma Mohana Lila. Svarupa, in his own form. Avarta, in a disguised form, e.g. Krishna disguised himself as a woman. Prakata, Krishna in his original form. Arya, the reservoir of Ratai the devotee. Sadhaka, Bhavabhaktas, e.g. Bilvamanagala Thakura. Siddha, Prema Bhaktas, Nitya Siddha. Eternally perfect. Sampraptai Siddha, those who attained perfection. Sadhana Siddha, attained perfection through sadhana, e.g. Markandeya Osi Kripa Siddha, attained perfection through mercy, e.g. Yajvapatnis Bali Maharaja, and Sri Sukadeva. Udapana Vibhava, that which stimulates Ratai. Things which stimulate the devotee's Ratai or love for the Lord are known as Udapana Vibhava. The 14 principal Udapanas are described below. A detailed outline of Krishna's qualities, dress and ornaments, and flute are found on the following pages. 1. Guna, qualities. 2. Sesta, activities. Krishna's activities include Rasalila, killing the wicked, and so on. 3. Prasadana, dress and ornaments. 4. Smita, smile. 5. Angasarabha, bodily fragrance. 6. Varnsa, flute. 7. Stiga, buffalo horn. Krishna's wild female buffalo horn, is mounted with gold on both ends, studded with jewels in the middle and known as Mandragosa. 8. Nipura, anklets. 9. Kambu, conch shell. Krishna's conch shell, which opens to the right or southward, is called Padakajanya. 10. Padatika, footprints. 11. Kastra, holy places. 12. Tulasi, 13, Bhakta, devotees, 14, Bhagavad Vaisara, holy days, Janmastami, Ekadayi, etc. Krishna's qualities as Uttapana Vibhava page 165 in printed edition, page 203 in PDF file.